What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. It is episode 220 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Mary, once again cultivating the chill and cozy vibes of this casual Friday. I am exempt from headphones today because I have a cozy fur hat on. Spotify listeners, you should know it is absolutely gigantic.
Whatever you say, comrade.
Yes, I'm the most fashionable Stalinist around.
That's what it looks. That's what it looked like to me when I saw it, like a polar bear Stalinist, if that was a thing.
Yeah.
And with us today, we have a guest host. Would you introduce yourself, sir?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Ian Crossland coming in the house.
Hot.
You got me hot?
Yeah, that was
I
good.
was coming in hot on the mic,
That
wasn't
was
I?
very hot.
Mary, your helmet's huge.
I love that you're calling it a helmet. Notice
like,
that it's like a helmet.
It's like the Darth Vader helmet, but it's white and fluffy.
I'm worried about being out of my show mode, on camera mode, and just saying some uncouth things.
The headphones do that. The headphones kind of put you in like a mode. Like once you put them on, you kind of get camera ready.
But it's a Friday. Yeah. It's casual Friday. I can say whatever I want anyways.
Yeah. Oh well.
Super
That's how that
warm.
works.
Is that helmet warm? I'll start calling it a hat for sure. Is it warm?
Yeah, it's warm in my ears, better than the headphones do.
Amazing.
For sure. It's made of real alpaca fur.
Oh wow.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Or is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Shout out.
Where'd you get it?
A Korean supermarket.
Cool. just a random impulse purchase.
Yeah.
Me and you have very different impulse purchase.
What's yours?
I actually
Wait,
posters.
what are those shoes with the
shoes and posters.
Yeah.
That's
shoes that have the button that blow them up.
Yes.
Blow up the tongue.
Yes.
What is that called?
Reebok pumps.
Yeah, the Reebok
yeah.
pumps.
Yeah.
Those were an impulse buy for you.
I was in the middle of watching White Men Can't Jump, and I'm like, you know what I want? I want shoes that pump up. Because when I was a kid, I never got them. Nor did I get the baseball glove that also had it, which I wanted even more because I played baseball.
You need that baseball glove really tightly fastened to the hand.
A friend of mine sold me a pair of his pumps. I think they were Reebok.
Reebok,
Or they
yeah,
were Jordans. Maybe they were
No,
Jordan
they're
pumps.
Reeboks.
But they were like $100 shoes, but he was like, I'll give them to you for $50. And they were too big. They were like size 12. But I was like, well, they're pumps. So I'm cool now. But they didn't fit, but I still wore them.
Size 12 is huge, too.
Yeah, they were massive.
Dude, that's the biggest lie in skating is that you should buy skates that are like when you're young, they're like buy skates so you can grow into them. But it doesn't actually work that way because by the time you start grinding and doing tricks, you destroy them very quickly. So you just have floppy skates for no reason.
I love that someone asked you on Instagram, why do you have so many skates?
Yes, some dude just and then
why?
And then after I didn't respond because it was a weird question the way he phrased it, he then sent another message to me that says, "Answer me."
Well, why do you have so many?
Why not? Why?
I mean, he's a professional skater, so
there's no reason
there's
not to.
no reason not to have
plus,
many
actually,
skates.
the funny thing is most of it isn't. It's one of them is the pair that I've been using for the most part over the last year or two, and then the rest were ones that I just rebuilt from old parts.
Are they all different? They all skate different?
Yeah, there's different. Sometimes you skate with all the same wheel size. Sometimes you skate with smaller wheels in the middle. Sometimes you like something narrower because it makes different tricks easier, things like that. But this guy, man, he's like, when I didn't answer him, he got really angry and then wrote in all caps, "Answer me."
How dare you not answer him?
He said,
Brett.
"Do not ignore me." And I was like, that's not the way to get anyone to actually talk to you.
Yeah, and if you have a crowd of people commenting and one person's like, "Damn it, answer me," and you answer them, then other people will be like, "Oh, that's what he responds to," and then they'll start doing it too. So you got to be careful what kind of energy you respond to.
You do not give the answer back. The same thing for anybody who says something I'm sure everybody has this, but you have a couple of people who just send you mean stuff. I just don't engage because that's what they want. They want you to engage with them. And then a lot of times you'll find out if you respond nicely to them, it throws them off. And they're like, I just wanted to talk to you, man. That's a whole different personality type that I will never understand.
You have more dedicated haters than I do, which is puzzling because you're so much less...
confrontational?
Yeah, confrontational. You're not weird looking or angry.
I'm not the new face of hate, according to Instagram.
You're not the new face of hate.
So we have a bunch of stuff to talk about today, do we not? We're going to talk about David O. Russell, who just directed the movie Amsterdam, which we just went and saw, did we not, Mary?
Yeah, and we posted a review of it.
Not yet.
Members only.
We'll go up tomorrow.
Okay,
We'll
the review is going to be some weekend content for you guys. We recorded it earlier. I liked it, mostly.
Also, we should shout out for the the Daily
Oh,
Wire.
yeah. So I want to direct you guys again to the referral link that's in our description. It helps us earn points if you click on it and use our referral link to buy either a 35% off Daily Wire Plus membership or $12 off of a Jeremy's Razors Founders Kit. He is giving away either $250K in cash or his McLaren to whoever wins. So help us earn some points. I just want to shout that out every time we have a show because I don't know. I have a competitive mindset.
More so than me. Like whenever I see stuff like this, I'm like, I'm not entering some competition. No siree.
But like, we could actually win it.
Yeah, that would be very cool. It'd
Maybe.
be very cool if we did. It'd be good promotion for the show as well. So we're going to talk about David O. Russell, and he is becoming this week's Olivia Wilde, as we're learning, only with crazier.
But more interesting, actually.
Arguably more interesting. And then after that, we're going to talk about Roblox and the poisoning of the children's minds. I was gonna say of the American minds, but it's
forget the
worldwide.
Kardashians. Roblox is a net force of evil in society.
Yes. So we're gonna talk about that, and then after that, we're gonna get into Amazon. Basically the lady in charge over at Amazon admitted to the review blocking and to all of the censorship, but we're also going to review episode 7 of Amazon Prime's most boring, pointless show.
This one was the most boring episode so far, but we'll get into it.
We'll get into it. So we got that. We got Podluck. We got a bunch of other stuff. If you guys are ready, we will get right into it. Mary, are we ready?
Absolutely ready.
Ian, are we ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do this. So it says, David O. Russell is the latest face of Hollywood's workplace abuse problem. The funny thing about this is they're underselling it in a way because of the niece allegations. But
It's definitely more than just a workplace abuse problem. And in the wake of the conversation about whether female directors are held to a double standard in comparison to male directors for misconduct or questionable behavior on set,
maybe for the sake of that discussion, we focus first on the stuff on set because that's where the comparisons would be with Olivia Wilde.
There are all but completely confirmed by video evidence allegations that David O. Russell has physically assaulted cast members, crew members.
And Christopher Nolan at an event.
Nolan. So he's also verbally abused people. He, I believe, called Lily Tomlin a C word on set.
So he called it female-related expletives in one of the articles that I read. Like they didn't want to get too into what that actually meant, but yes.
Which movie was that?
That was for not Silver Linings Playbook. That was for the one from 2004.
Okay.
That wasn't for American Hustle.
Yeah. So he's verbally abused cast members. At one point, he grabbed an extra and decked them to the floor.
It was for I Heart Huckabees. Sorry.
I Heart Huckabees? Yep. Okay, yeah, that was when he said that to Lily Tomlin. And the reason he did that to an extra actually is because the extra wasn't physically capable of throwing Ice Cube.
Who's a pretty big dude. Like Ice Cube's a bulky.
Yeah.
Ice Cube is a bulky dude.
So he just had enough one day and decked this person.
He wanted to show him how to throw a guy. So he's
I
I'll
guess
show you.
so.
The funny thing is, I've seen more than a few TV shows parody this exact type of thing, where they're like, "Oh, don't do it that way," and then the director comes up and absolutely it's like you can't choke the guy that way. You got to choke him this way, and then the guy comes up to him, starts choking him.
Physical demonstration of the stunt. Yes.
And then they do the bit where he's choking him, and they don't realize that the guy's actually being choked, and the guy's trying to get out of it, and it's played for laughs. But this is not exactly a laughing matter.
Another situation, he put Christopher Nolan in a headlock at a Hollywood party,
which is very humiliating.
He was mad at him because he was trying to poach Jude Law onto The Prestige, which I was surprised to have actually seen that movie.
One of Nolan's
at the time
better earlier works.
I didn't like it.
You didn't like The Prestige?
Yeah, maybe I'm just not into those I don't know, Inception, Memento,
you didn't like
intellectually engaging films as much.
Well, that's Christopher Nolan's thing. That's what he loves that stuff. He's kind of that rare example of a director who's allowed to make stuff like that on the higher end of the budget scale.
Yeah.
They give him a lot of money to make movies that a lot of people don't understand. There's a great review that I watched for Tenet where the guy's he's like, just ignore the sci-fi elements, because when they were talking about the movie Tenet, he's like, think of it with James Bond with sci-fi elements, but just pretend the sci-fi elements don't exist because they don't make any sense. That's fine.
The plot twist in The Prestige, I genuinely didn't see coming, but also I didn't care.
Yeah.
So he was trying to poach Jude Law for The Prestige when he was actually supposed to be in Three Kings, and because of that, he decided to put Christopher Nolan in a headlock at a party in front of a lot of people, and Christopher Nolan then relented and let go of Jude Law so that he could do David O. Russell's film.
So do you think that this is a double standard in Hollywood? Like, there is that legend of the auteur film director who is obscenely like rude on set, and he's got his diehard vision of what he wants to be. Michael Bay is known to be that way, at least as far as like verbally being very unpolished, because when he wants something, he wants it. And he needs the shot to be done a certain way, and all the movies he makes cost a fortune to make. So he's like, he needs to get that point across to you, and he needs to get that point across to you quickly, and you don't always have time to be nice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but that's a bit of an understatement when you're talking about the incidents David O. Russell has gotten into with actors and crew members as well. Like, I understand why the financial stakes of a film would cause someone stress and cause them to not act like themselves. But I think this is just a license that he feels he has to have outbursts at people and be violent because of the money involved. He has made a lot of very lucrative films, and interestingly, it seems that like in Hollywood, if you are a moneymaker, and if you, as a director, are a brand name in and of yourself, more than even another movie star might be,
and there's directors like that,
then you're allowed to cross certain boundaries that other directors normally wouldn't. And there are less female directors that have reached that level of notoriety. Yeah. So naturally, they don't end up in as many of these situations. Or maybe women just wouldn't be inclined to act violently anyways.
There's a good question to be asked there. Like, perhaps it's because an Olivia Wilde just hasn't developed that pedigree yet, that she doesn't have the license to act that way. But there's also the question asked that females are less likely to be confrontational, and less likely to be outwardly hostile. So maybe it wouldn't work. But then you have to ask the question, like, of those movies, did they come out the way they did because of that behavior? I don't know if that can actually be answered, because you don't have, it's kind of a fool's question. You can't actually answer that question.
Russell is known as the actor's director, and actors kind of romanticize working under the supervision of someone who's unpredictable, who acts erratic, and that's seen as a merit of their art,
which seems like that would make the situation worse, because then it kind of promotes that type of behavior.
Yeah, but maybe they would think like we work better under pressure, and it helps the actors bond when they're all undergoing the same stress.
Well, they said that they had no such incidents in the making of Amsterdam, but maybe he felt under the microscope.
The one weird thing I read about from the making of Amsterdam is that Margot Robbie came in to do a table read at one point just with David O. Russell, and he was literally about to fall asleep or completely asleep the entire time. As she was doing this table read, he continually recommended that she has a more relaxed tone, slower, quieter, every time that she restarted. And then as he was falling asleep, nodding off at the table, she was like, "Do you want me to bring more energy to this?" And he's like, no, you're perfect. And she keeps going, and then until he is fully knocked out and snoring. So he's obviously a kind of an oddball guy.
That could have been a power trip, even.
Maybe, yeah.
Literally read me to sleep because I want to have a weird type of control over you.
Yeah, I don't know if it's even that thought out, or what his intentions were with that, but he's obviously kind of a strange guy. Yeah, and people respect his work because he seems to have unconventional ways of I guess making something great with resistance. I don't know.
And with more
friction
success.
he causes will help the product in the end.
Maybe.
That's the pitch, at least.
Yeah, because I think, like you mentioned earlier, disagreeableness, or like that men tend to be more, well, in the psychology realm, disagreeableness, like Jordan Peterson's broken it down into a personality trait, and men tend to be more disagreeable than women. And what happens is when you're on set, like you were saying too, you're in a rush because you got 12 hours to shoot. You're probably spending like $100,000-$300,000 a day by paying all the crew, the cast to be there. And if something's going wrong, they're costing hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Exactly.
So you have a right to like spur the horse and be like, no, move, or you're fired. But with power comes responsibility, and you can be.
I've heard
mean.
that before.
Like if you're powerful, you can be mean, and still people will work for you because you're powerful, and you can make them money. So you have. Just because he is mean doesn't mean that that's what was making it better. Like being kinder may even make an even better product. But then you see like Stanley Kubrick, who was screaming at the woman playing in The Shining, and really making her cry on set, and got like the most real terror out of her because he was terrifying her behind the scenes.
Yeah. I question whether that behavior should be tolerated.
See,
for
I
the
wonder.
sake of the art. Obviously, she chose to be there. She chose to keep this job, but
It's possible that the director would have to be like, look, I'm going to like, and they'll talk about this a lot of times when they go into this stuff, when they talk about this type of acting. It's like, look, I'm going to have to take you places you don't want to go mentally. If you don't feel like you can handle that, you can back out now. But then once you get started, just because you agreed to it doesn't necessarily mean you really understood what that entails. And once it starts, you can't really pull out at that point. You're contractually obligated to finish this picture. It could be financially disastrous for you to just quit midway through. But then we get into this falls into that category of like, this is the murkiness of working in commercial art, right? Like he's doing it for artistic purposes. The studio's doing it for financial purposes. The actor is doing it for a mixture of both.
The actors seem to be in it for Oscars.
Yes.
Mainly. And of course,
especially with the level of actor he's working with, who are already financially secure and built their resumes up long before they don't need to do this role. They want to do this role.
Yeah, they're willing to undergo extreme distress for recognition.
Christian Bale seems to thrive on it, and they're even saying like he's worked with David O. Russell before, and that when he was getting in the face of Amy Adams on the set of American Hustle, he got into David O. Russell's face and said, "Look, stop being an asshole."
Yeah.
So like Bale seems to thrive on that type of chaotic work.
I think that's why Margot Robbie and John David Washington felt comfortable taking these roles because David O. Russell's history of violent and aggressive behavior is fully documented in public at this point, so they have that context going into it. They feel like Christian Bale can advocate for them or mediate between them and David O. Russell if he acts that way. But still, the worst we've heard about the making of Amsterdam is that table read incident, and Margot Robbie at one point called it like terrifying that they didn't know what they were going to film each day. She said actually that the three of them, Christian Bale, John David Washington, and her, immediately kind of clung to each other like, okay, are you scared? Because I'm scared. What do we do? Then you dive in head first and you have the time of your life. And Christian Bale's going like, don't worry, it's always like this. You never know what's going to happen when you go to work that day. And you really don't. And that's thrilling. So I can see how that would help them bond as a trio and really communicate their chemistry for the film, which was palpable. And that's what made it really worth watching.
My biggest attribution to the movie was that the chemistry of the three of them is infinitely better than the chemistry of John David Washington and Margot Robbie's chemistry on their own, in which they're supposed to be lovers in this movie. And for some reason, there's a magnetic and really inviting chemistry when they're all three together. But when it's just them, it almost falls apart in a way. So maybe those scenes
that friendship chemistry is way stronger.
Yes. Like they're doing their scene and Christian Bale's not there. They're like, I wish he was here while we were. They're like, could you make him in the bring him into the background while we're doing this?
He
so
needs
he
to like
feels safe.
cheerlead all of their romantic scenes, basically.
And it kind of speaks to like the really chaotic and uneven nature of filmmaking, and why as a profession it attracts people who might not be the most like. not
emotionally
stable people, right? Because they're inviting this type of uncertainty into their lives for the sake of the artistic process. Most people aren't going to do that.
Yeah,
know?
And it sounds like based on sheer luck or maybe an evolution that David O. Russell has undergone in recent years personally, they didn't have to undergo the same level of chaos that he had inflicted in the past. Like,
he's mellowed with age.
On the set of Three Kings, that was over 20 years ago now, George Clooney was the one who personally witnessed him throwing that extra down to the floor, and he intervened and got into a feud with him. And what he concluded from that was that he never wanted to work with David O. Russell ever again, but that he still said, do I think he's tremendously talented, and do I think he should be nominated for Oscars? Yes. So maybe he thinks that level of like chaos and violence and uncertainty and really like actually unethical behavior, if we're thinking about it from just a workplace perspective, is worth it if you can make something great out of it.
It does make me wonder if they actually understand what it's like to be like the average everyday person who works in a normal work environment where throwing people down to the ground isn't something that you can just do and expect to get away with it.
Yeah, it's super high stress, the movie industry. I mean, especially when they used film, then it was like
you
super
run out
expensive to shoot. Even just to shoot for like 5 minutes was like $9,000 or something.
The closest you get to something like that now is stunts that require like something that they only have one or two of. Like if they have a car, they only have one or two cars, and they have to flip a car just the right way. They don't really have multiple opportunities to get that shot more than one or two times.
A lot of problems with extras is it can be anybody. They don't have to be like professional. They're just anybody goes to casting, Frontier, they sign up for extra work, they get called in the morning, they're like, go be part. And then what happens is they think, I'm going to be an actor in this movie now. Like, dude, you're an extra. Technically, you're not technically, I guess you're an actor, technically maybe, but you're not. The director doesn't think of you as an actor, doesn't want you to pull focus from the scene, wants you to be background noise. If you slow down the production even an inkling, you're fired. Get out. But apparently he just
fired.
Yeah, he's like, you're on the ground. I'm going to show you how to do it. He probably told him like 3 times what to do. The guy couldn't do it right. So finally he was just like, this is how you do it, and did it to him.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm looking at a picture of David O. Russell at the top, and he looks all smarmy and weaselly.
He does.
And then I scroll down to the video of him talking, and he looks awesome. Like, I would love to work with this guy. He looks super like good at what he does.
So it's one of those things that would you have thrived on that type of environment, or would you have preferred something more stable?
Well, only times that ever happened to me that I did a commercial, a Dr. Pepper commercial, and with the House of Usher production company, and I had 2 directors. I had the director and the assistant director. We were driving up and down the PCH Highway 1 in California on the Pacific Coast. And the assistant director was trying to direct me, which is not what the assistant director's job is. The assistant director's job is to corral the actors, make sure everybody's in their place and everybody's on time. But for whatever reason, I had the director in one car on a walkie-talkie. I had the walkie-talkie next to me, and then I had the AD, the assistant director, in the car with me. And they were giving me conflicting direction. The director's like, put your arm up. The assistant director's like, put your arm down. And it was it was a horrible shoot. It turned out terribly. But I think as I got more confident and just better at understanding how to make things work fast, it never happened again. I've had just fantastic, even with like jerks, they like me now because I'm better at it. But I understand, like for people that are new and figuring it out, like top Hollywood directors do not have time or desire to work with people like that.
There's too much money. There's too much risk. There's too much going into the production. And it's like, that's where you get the outbursts like Christian Bale on the set of Terminator Genesis.
He clearly thinks that's acceptable behavior. And then Dan Schneider, too. Like, he did this same aggressive verbal abuse to children. Yeah. Like, they just act this way, and they believe that.
Thank you.
You know what's funniest and like actually hypocritical about this is that Hollywood expects in their own circles for you to evaluate your own risks and at your own discretion take these jobs and basically grow thicker skin if you can't handle it. But then what they preach to all of us is the thinnest skin philosophy of life possible. That we should all be easily offended by like microaggressive comments.
Yep.
And that they whine about being cyberbullied, and they whine about negative reviews, and they try to censor people. They label us as trolls and bots.
I was thinking about it
like
yesterday.
It doesn't. There's a dissonance there.
They see that theirs is a higher calling, so that they can do that, but you can't because you're just a pleb. You're just part of the unwashed masses, so you have to behave this way. Well, they get to act literally as the upper class, the ivory tower, if such a thing existed for overpaid celebrities. Though, again, I will make that argument that they're not overpaid. They're paid what they're worth based on the money that they the return on their investment. Like when people talk about athletes being overpaid, I'm like, no, people still pay a lot of money to go watch sports. So technically, they're paid what they're worth. But
they think they can verbally or physically rough each other up, but never receive negative feedback of any degree from the unwashed masses.
Do you think they were like that before, or do you think that social media just exposed it to people?
They've always been narcissists who can't take criticism.
Yes.
Like abuse. They used to beat women. I mean, men in general used to beat women till like the 1950s. I think they were way more aggressive and angry.
The actors?
Back in the directors. Back
we're
in
talking about the actors. Now, do you think the actors were always so thin-skinned?
I mean, they're thick-skinned when it comes to their wallets being on the line.
Yeah, funny how that works, right?
It's interesting.
And then what happened with his niece? Do you want to tell everyone what happened with his niece? Just because.
Okay, so
speaking of Hollywood,
aside from on-set behavior, there was a police report filed in 2011 by the niece of David O. Russell. And it alleged that he groped her under the shirt on her breasts. And this was, I believe, when this niece was 19 years old. And the context is, I was surprised to find out, from 2011, things have changed so much. This individual is transgender. Okay. And this incident followed a discussion of how this person was taking estrogen. Thank you.
Woo!
This person was taking estrogen to grow breasts, and I guess that was what he considered permission to touch them. And
his own niece.
Yes, his own niece.
Totally normal.
And so it seems that this niece immediately filed a police report, but the police said they couldn't do anything about it because they didn't witness the incident take place, and basically you're SOL. And then when in the police report, David O. Russell is recorded having justified this. He fully admitted that he did this, and he justified it, saying that his niece was acting very provocative and seductive to him.
What the frick? Dude, these people, dude.
This is public record. This is a matter of public record. And now it's making a lot more sense why the A-list actors who are still working with him, singing his praises, are definitely holding us, all of the unwashed masses, to a different standard than the one they hold themselves to.
Yeah. And
I know that Margot Robbie was receiving criticism for working with David O. Russell in particular because she starred in Bombshell. It's framed as like a dramatized retelling that they try to stay accurate to reality, that exposes corruption and culture of abuse at Fox News, that you had to do sexual favors to ascend in that company. And like, I think Charlize Theron played Megyn Kelly in it. It was a pretty big film at the time.
Funny too, because you can just tell that Charlize Theron would be excited, and I feel like Margot Robbie would do it because she liked the role, and Charlize Theron would do it because she wants to stick it to the man.
Yeah, there are obviously like mixed motivations, and Margot Robbie is very smart about like when she talks.
She knows when to shut up
about films.
She knows what to say, when to say it, and when to not comment on. She's my favorite actress working, I think, in Hollywood right now, as far as somebody who is working at that top level of the industry, while being able to remain not perfect but fairly magnanimous in her approach to how she deals with the role she takes, her opinions on things.
And when she's asked leading questions by the media, she is really good at pivoting to just talk about her role, about the film, about the story, and the experience of filming it, not about the social impacts she's hoping these movies will have.
Which everybody is sick to death of hearing about.
So she's smart for not responding to the criticism about working with David O. Russell, but it is a valid point to bring up, because it doesn't just apply to her. It's I guess...
Do you think she wanted to do it?
Wokeness for thee, but not for me?
Yeah.
Like, that's what it feels like. And, like, the general public is not violent, aggressive, hateful toward women or any of these marginalized groups. Yet, in Hollywood, they expect everyone to have the same, like, thick skin, unfazed mentality, unshocked. For the sake of art, you cannot be shocked or offended by anything.
Yep.
But it's a different standard when it comes to the rest of us. So this quote from Lily Tomlin, after I Heart Huckabees, and this hack of Sony's emails happened in 2014, but in 2016, then Lily Tomlin commented on her experience.
That was that long ago.
Yeah.
I forgot about that, the Sony hack.
The emails claimed that she was called the crudest word imaginable in front of actors and crew.
Unless you're British, then they use that word all the time.
But she basically defended it, saying it was just crazy stuff. We were always doing something, and then we'd get manic and crazy, and I just flipped out on him, then he flipped out on me. You know, stuff goes on. Like, it's so easy to say that when you're in your own cabal and everyone's comfortable with each other. It's a big exclusive club. You're not in it. Yep. But you have to also buy their products and be a happy little consumer, and you will be happy.
Yep.
Well, that shows me that Lily Tomlin started it. At least according to Lily, she got in his face, and then he responded by calling her. But
it's impossible to know what really happened.
And if that happened now, it wouldn't matter, because even if she got in his face first, he's supposed to both treat all women equally, while also deferring to them and not engaging, even if they engage with him. Mm-hmm. So
like, returning to the point that Olivia Wilde made regarding all of the drama about Don't Worry, Darling. All of that drama was way lower stakes. It was basically like middle school girls whispering about each other compared to,
as they want to do,
decking an extra onto the floor, compared to calling someone the C word.
Yeah, but is he
screaming in people's faces?
But is he sleeping with his with his actresses though? Like she was sleeping with Harry Styles.
Even if he did, would we know about it?
Would we know about it? That's
probably not. He probably has.
So there is probably a bit of a double standard here, but we'll never know until we get
vindication for Olivia Wilde. I never thought I would see the day
until we get a female director with that level of pedigree. That's allowed.
I don't think we will, though.
No, I don't think so either. I think that they will sabotage themselves and not elevate the right ones. For every they didn't rein in Patty Jenkins with Wonder Woman 2. They let her write and direct when she's clearly a better director than she is a writer. Like they gave her all free range to do whatever she wanted in that movie, and it showed. Whereas in Wonder Woman, the movie, the first one, she did a fantastic job of directing something that was generally somebody else's concept and idea, and they let her run wild in the second one. We're not going to get a strong female director that's at that level for a while, because what they're going to do is they're going to continue to flood the market with substandard products, not giving them great material to work with. They're going to helm Star Wars on television. They're going to helm Marvel on television. They may helm Marvel films as part of dual director teams that will work on projects that, let's face it, are directed by Marvel. They're not directed by directors. They're not going to get that opportunity. It's going to take a smaller film that has a larger cultural impact, but there's going to be pushback against it now because people feel like it's being shoved down their face. There's absolutely things going on right now with diversity quotas. We want this many people on our set that are this race, this many people on our set that are this gender. And it's going to poison people against it. You're going to go in to watch it, and you're going to automatically think, before even starting it, you're going to have to be proven wrong rather than proven right. So that you're going to assume it's going to be bad, and they're going to have to prove that you're wrong, rather than you going into it neutral.
With Amsterdam, it just seems egregiously hypocritical just because they can make these overtures to being anti-Nazi and pro-democracy and pro-love and kindness and anti-hate.
Yes.
But David O. Russell is...
But it takes a lot of hate to make that message work, apparently.
Yeah. He's using hate to spread love. Okay, sure.
So it's like
to be our school teacher.
Yeah.
He's hitting us with a ruler and saying, like, be more loving, be more kind.
The husband, it's the 1950s husband who hits his wife because he
loves
her.
The face of the general public.
Yes.
My guess is that Russell, if he was here, he'd be like, why don't you direct a Hollywood movie and show me how it's done? Because he's like got his job on the line, and if an extra is in there screwing around and can't get a ball on the ground, like that's like, dude, get out. You're not gonna cost me $6 million because you can't figure out your own life. Like, get out of here. And I've only heard of one instance where he threw someone on the ground. I haven't heard of this violence thing. If Lily Tomlin got in his face
like
and then
audio,
if Lily called him a name and then he responded by calling her name, that just happens on that's on set. It's high emotions, high stakes. Two people that know each other pretty well yelling at each other.
Well, there's the
crowd's
headlock
gonna be
incident
like, what's the
too.
headlock incident?
With Christopher Nolan
That's
in a
weird.
headlock.
That's weird that Jude Law agreed to do a different movie, yet somehow a headlock between the directors is going to get Jude Law to agree now to do another thing that he didn't want to do. Like, how do they?
Well, Christopher Nolan's British. He has more.
A director can lay claim to an actor as their intellectual property. It seems.
Says
for a limited amount of time.
Scorsese and DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go to super chats.
Caper2X said, "Is Russian Mary run comrades?"
She's definitely Comrade Mary today.
Comrade Mary.
Comrade Mary.
Potatoes for Seamus said, "Hello, Comrade Mary."
There it is.
Hobbit said, "We thought she was a Fed. We were wrong. Spy."
So are you a Fed or a spy?
It's cooler to be a spy,
she's
right?
KGB.
You could well, that would be that's the SVR now. So you're Russian.
Oh.
You're Russian intelligence.
Yeah. Waffle Sensei said, "Mary looks like the wife of a James Bond villain. She just needs some diamond jewelry and a cat."
I would love that. That would be fantastic. You could be sitting on a big chair in the middle of a room that's in the middle of a room for no reason. They never explain
just
why.
Ominously petting a cat.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic.
Caper2X said, "Regardless, Mary, you look acutely Bolshevik cute." Bolshevik chic, yeah.
Is that the new thing?
Bolshevik chic.
Lenin chic.
Hobbit said, "Brett is a guy. Of course, he has more haters."
I don't know if that's necessarily true.
The case, I would just think you're more like.
The better comparison would be Brett is a guy, he has less simps. Brett is a guy, he has more haters isn't necessarily true. A girl can still have plenty of haters.
You have more palatable takes on things than I do. That's why I would assume I would have more haters.
I have a very curated, I was talking to Wesley about this the other day, that I have a very curated, I have a very curated sense of humor online that can be plenty, shocking, but not offensive to anyone in particular. And I'd like to think that most of the stuff that I post is fairly entertaining. Every once in a while, someone takes some offense to something I post. But
Cheetah.
Nobody.
Good boy Noah.
Nobody takes offense to that. But you can't please everyone.
Mm-hmm. Grofty said, "Puffy, what? LOL."
The hat is puffy.
The hat is puffy.
Is it? By the way, is it affecting your hearing? Does the show feel different without the headphones on?
It does feel different. It feels less official.
Like
I
we're
feel
just having
off the record right now. Blueheart said Mary was the mastermind behind Hopper's disappearance. That's a little reference for you Stranger Things fans out there who still exist.
Speaking of which, we were running a test stream the other day, in here after we had the problem with the stream the other day, and I definitely without having headphones on said something that I would never put on stream. Be careful, would you?
Brett can never take his headphones off. It's got to be a rule.
It would be. I would have to
bad things would happen to this channel.
I wouldn't even want to do like a bonus content segment because that stuff could get clipped somehow or screen recorded. Bad.
Yeah.
I'm better in person.
Joseph said, "I would never work for someone who treats me poorly."
I wonder if they consider it treating them poorly or if they just consider it what they have to do to get to where they need to be as actors.
Yeah, you know, if you got a coach and you play for the Chicago Bulls and then the coach is screaming at you because you can't get your passes accurate, is he being a jerk? Is he being mean to you, or is he just doing his job?
Athletes have that same mentality, right? Where it's okay for the coach to be rude to them, but the second a fan says something rude to them, they fall apart.
There's also maybe the idea that people in positions of authority who act in that antisocial way, people just assume that behavior is what got them to the place they're at right now, when really they might have just unleashed it after getting into that position of power. Caper2X said, Brett, can your IT guy move your avatars to the left so the live chat
doesn't cover your face?
Doesn't cover your faces. I mean, you not so much, but Mary is a crime.
Ow!
Yeah.
That hurt me severely.
Only Brett can say stuff like, I have a face for radio. You guys can't do that. That's mean.
Self-deprecating humor is okay.
Way different.
Being mean to someone, not so much.
Was that a compliment to Mary, or was that just an insult to you?
It was both.
Or both. I guess it was
both.
Double-edged sword.
Potatoes for Seamus said, happy Friday, PCC family. Hope to see Ian on IRL tonight. Hope everyone has a great and safe weekend. Mary, in Soviet Russia, cart pushes you back. We need to pushing that cart all the way to Siberia.
We need to get the star for above the hat. The logo.
Oh, yeah. I need to stop watching YouTube, said Poop Culture Crisis is based and red-pilled.
Based as in turkey based.
Praying hands.
Yes.
Emoji. JWT6577 said, actors are paid to stand where more creative people tell them, wearing clothes more creative people made, saying words more creative people wrote. They're all overpaid. Amen. Thoughts on that, Brett?
I would say that there's a fair amount of truth to that, especially for the writers and the set. There's a lot of work that goes into making those actors look as good as they do, but they do still have to pull emotional scenes out of nothing. But then you have to talk about how much editing goes into that. Yeah, the editor really is the last storyteller on set. Once it gets from pre-production into production, the director directs the actors. Once they get there, the editor has to create the scene almost not from nothing, but once you incorporate the music, there's so many levels to it. It is almost a crime that the actors get all the credit, and all of the people that make them look as good as they do get very little of it. And remember, there is still no Oscar for stuntmen.
True.
Oh, that's a travesty.
Yes, it absolutely is.
You will get an excellent actor, sometimes the best of the best, that don't need directors. Sometimes even they'll be the director. So in those cases, I mean, some actors are like Clint Eastwood. You get people like Tom Cruise, he's an actual pilot. You get people that are really immensely, maybe even the most talented person on set is also an actor.
The scene in The Dark Knight when the Joker takes the guy hostage, the guy who was dressing up as Batman at the beginning of the movie, and he films him with a handy cam, and he sends the film to the studios where he takes the guy's mask off, and he says, so you think you've made Batman a better place? And he does this whole exchange with him, and he does the thing where his voice gets really deep, and he says, look at me, and everyone in the theater got very, very shocked by that moment. Heath Ledger directed that scene himself. Christopher Nolan let him direct that entire process from start to finish on his own, which lent to the authenticity of it, because it really was the Joker having this interaction with him with a camera. So you never actually see Heath Ledger's face. He's actually holding the camera as they're doing it.
Oh, wild.
Yeah. So one more there. Let's move on.
Let's see. Luis Aguilar said, to all, what's the most you could spend on shoes, or would spend on shoes?
Oof.
$40.
Yeah, I go lower and buy more. My 120 at the most, but they better last a long time. The rest of mine are cheaper than that.
Depends on the shoe for me. I like to lowball people on bidding websites for stuff that they're never going to give me.
Does it ever work?
Sometimes.
Yeah. I do that with hats. Like I spend way more money on hats, on vintage hats, and I am the guy who throws them. They're like, it's $70. I'm like, I'll give you 20.
The most I've spent on shoes is probably $115.
Yeah.
I said 40, but I haven't bought shoes in 20, 30 years.
Wow.
And I would vie for comfort over cost. So I'll pay whatever to get the most comfortable shoe because they last for 8 years or 5 years.
My inside heel wears down very quickly because I have one leg that's longer than the other. So that
I purchase for fashion reasons.
And I used to wear exclusively Walmart Velcro shoes.
When you get the nice looking shoes, do you put insoles in or anything to make it more comfortable?
No, I mean, I don't generally get super uncomfortable shoes if I know I'm not going to wear them.
Yeah.
But I only buy secondhand online anyway.
All right, we'll save the rest. We'll come back. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about Roblox. Yes, that's right. So it says...
Never thought you'd hear that.
Yeah, I know, right? Anti-social media lawsuits are coming for Roblox and Discord. So basically what happened here is a young girl attempted to commit... can we say that? I don't know. If it's
sewer slide.
Because of... Do you want to...
Sure. Okay. So... a lawsuit was recently filed in the San Francisco Superior Court in the state of California, and it was filed by something called the Social Media Victims Law Center. They took up this girl's case probably at the behest of her parents because at the time that these events allegedly happened, she was 11, and today she is 13.
But this started when she was 9.
Yeah, she got on the website. She got on Roblox at 9, and then eventually got on Discord, Instagram, Snapchat.
Yeah,
and that's allegedly at the request of users on Roblox who were over the age of 18, who asked her to go on those platforms.
And the big thing here is that they were telling her to drink, and they were telling her to take
prescription drugs, send sexually explicit photos of herself, send money to them. What else? Like commit harm to herself.
Yeah.
Like they're genuinely like I don't have any like I don't disbelieve this at all. I know there are crazy people that want to harm children on the internet.
I remember, Ian, there was a time when we were going out on a Friday night, and we were like, there was a large conversation we were having about Roblox. Do you remember that? Like there was like a documentary out at that point, and
a documentary about
like
Roblox,
like about the problems with the structure of the company.
Yeah, there was it was like a YouTube video. A guy did 2 long videos.
It was like
about documentary length.
30 minutes
or
longer.
And Roblox itself is a platform for games like Steam, but they don't call them games because they want to avoid paying taxes or be under the regulations. So they call them experiences. They have hundreds of thousands and thousands of experiences you can download. They get kids or people to make the games with the Roblox software.
Child labor.
Yeah, and they pay them 30% of them. Then the games are sold on the platform, and the creator only gets like 30% of the game sale.
Mm-hmm. It sounds illegal. Like it does not sound like it
sounds like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, and the reason we have child labor laws is to prevent little kids from getting roped into this stuff without realizing how unethical it is to take 70% of someone's income. Yeah, Roblox has a lot of problems.
But I'm sure like parents hear that and they're like, "That's great, sweetie. You're making money on the internet."
And people think it's Minecraft. They hear blocks
True.
and they think, and it looks like Minecraft graphics, so they don't think twice about what it actually is. That it's an actual gaming platform that's kind of dodging the rules.
Yeah. So I just wanted to read from the Social Media Victims Law Center website what they say they are. They say they work to hold social media companies legally accountable for the harm they inflict on vulnerable users. They seek to apply principles of product liability to force social media companies to elevate consumer safety to the forefront of their economic analysis and design safer platforms that protect users from foreseeable harm.
I love corporate speak when they say so much and so little all at the same time.
I think they're using a lot of legalese to rope in parents mainly who don't understand the internet and the risks that are involved in letting your kids have unsupervised access to the internet, which is clearly what happened in the situation of this alleged victim. She goes by SU and her mother will be going by CU. They wanted to remain anonymous for obvious reasons.
I'm picturing Roblox assassins out there.
So it says that someone on Roblox over the age of 18 contacted this girl over direct message on the platform. So Roblox has a direct messaging capability, and they don't verify users' ages. So adults can message children back and forth. No, to my knowledge, there are no restrictions on that.
I want to actually ask this question here. Is it even possible to have an effective way of verifying ages?
That's what I was thinking, and I don't think so. Because if there were
exists.
a way to do that, wouldn't Facebook and Instagram in particular be putting that into action? They've always had guidelines that you are not allowed technically to make a Facebook or Instagram account if you are under the age of 13.
13. Is that an arbitrary age, do you think?
It's a age for child law of some sort. YouTube does that too. If you're under the age of 13, I think you need parental supervision. Over the age of 13, between 13 and 18, you can do it without supervision.
But just like they just picked that number out of a hat one day. They're like, it's better.
I mean, you kind of have to at some point. When the legal liability comes into play, you have to do your best guesswork to avoid liability, right?
And this stuff happened. I mean, it's not like there wasn't for 2 decades prior porn sites that said, do not enter if you are under the age of 18, as if nobody.
And there's no actual enforcement.
No
way
of
that.
No
there's
way
no
at all.
mechanism to enforce that. And if there were one that existed, it would be in use, right?
Yep.
So they're blaming Roblox for essentially not protecting their underage users from these foreseeable risks. They said, but for Roblox's marketing to children, SU would not have been exposed to defendant Roblox's inherently dangerous and defective features. But for Roblox's marketing to children representations of safety and failure to warn of harms known to Roblox and arising from its direct message products and capabilities, SU would not have been exposed to Roblox's inherently dangerous and defective features.
So how is
and
this
then they also went on to explain the same for Discord.
Yeah.
And that they also have dangerous and defective features and misleading safety requirements on their platform.
A mom getting their 9-year-old a cell phone and then like trying to sue the cell phone company when the kid gets a text.
Well,
yeah, these parents just fundamentally don't understand the internet, and it's clear that they don't, for the very reason that as late as 2020, they're giving their child unfettered access to it.
You do not let your 9-year-old on the internet unsupervised, dude. Whoever did that. It's like taking your kid to the mall, leaving them there alone, and then trying to sue the mall when some creepo starts talking to the kid.
Well, I mean, that stuff happens too. Like the litigation is heavy with stuff like this, and I do my main question was where are the parents? I do wonder
where are they?
I do wonder if this is something that will come to pass less frequently when people my age start having kids that are that age, and we're just I would never let my kid, if I had children, anywhere near a phone at that age, ever.
But as long as we still have this outsized population of parents who didn't grow up with the internet in any way, they really don't understand the risks involved.
No.
Therefore, they're letting their children use it unsupervised, unlimited, in any place in their house. Because, now it's not just that you have remember when households had a computer room or office where a computer would be, because just for the practical reason the equipment was larger, but also because it was just considered not a part of the rest of the household.
Yeah.
But now this kid can roam around anywhere inside or outside the house with the internet as a companion.
It's an absolute
and whoever is
terrifying-
contacting them through those platforms with them all over the wherever they go, at school, anywhere.
And it's not like the kid's gonna go tell their mom about this interaction they had with this person.
But they
Of
should.
course.
The mom should have said beforehand, there's a lot of creeps and weirdos on the internet. You're gonna be exposing your brain to a lot of torture and trauma if you let yourself be there. And if something happens, tell me immediately. You need that conversation with your kids.
But how do they even know? You don't know it gets there till it gets there, right? So they have that first interaction. It's plenty. It's jovial. It's hi, I'm this person. Hi, I'm this person, and it gets slowly worse. But it's kind of like the frogs in boiling water, right? It's not like the first message that creep sends to her is something explicit. it starts off innocent enough and it gets worse.
I don't like the idea, the defensive or the offensive, like, I didn't know how dangerous it was when I let my kid go do it.
Yeah.
So therefore they're the ones that are at fault for letting my kid in. It's like, well, no, you should have known. You should have done your due diligence. You were lazy or just weak-minded, whatever.
Maybe it's both. Because I don't want to fully blame the parents. I always say this, like, there is something fundamentally, like, the internet is so vast and so impossible to fully, like, regulate or research every little thing on it, that I can't sit here and blame the parents for not doing their due diligence. There is something to be said for that, and I'm sure that they failed in doing that.
And let's think about it timeline wise. Okay, so 9, right? 9 is obviously very young. Don't need a cell phone. But eventually that kid's going to be 13, 14, 15. She's going to be going out on the house to visit, with her friends on her own to the mall where somebody's parents will drop them off. That kid's going to get a phone at one of those ages, and whether you like it or not, those same risks are still going to be there. So the parents have to take it upon themselves, no matter the age, like you said, to learn to educate their kids about just how dangerous these platforms are, because it's not something you can just wait out. The kid's not going to get their first phone at 18 like a lot of kids did. It's not going to happen anymore.
It's not the platform that's dangerous. It's letting the kid there alone. Like, the mall is not. You can't just say the mall is dangerous. The world is dangerous. Yeah. Like, if you let your kid go out to the mall alone, then there's danger present. But the mall, it's not the mall itself that's dangerous.
With the example of Roblox specifically, there's nothing inherently different about a kid being on Roblox versus being in a certain public place without supervision. Like, is there anything inherently, like, more dangerous about Roblox?
I think it's more dangerous in public because they can actually get grabbed and kidnapped. On Roblox, it's all psychological, but it's the same kind of psychological damage that could happen.
Private messaging is way more dangerous. You can way more time in someone's head. You can convince them to do things. You could send them somewhere where you could take them. I think that there's infinitely more danger in private messaging when there's no way to figure out whether the people that are talking to are the same age. If there's adults in these platforms with kids, that's
because when a creep comes up to a kid in the mall,
everyone is
looking.
Yeah. Every young kid in a mall is stared at if there's just a creepy guy standing around that kid, right? But that message
necessarily not gonna get someone intervening.
No, but at least people's eyes will be on it, right? Yeah. That message goes through, nobody sees it but the kid. It's private messaging for a reason.
And is that Roblox's fault? That's the fundamental question. Do they have liability for that happening?
It's our society's fault for making the internet so important to our everyday lives that we have to give kids access to it.
Yeah, it's not Roblox's fault. It'd be like blaming the U.S. Postal Service for some creep sending your kid a letter in the mail. It's not Roblox's fault. It's not the mail service's fault. It's the parents' fault for not educating the kid.
Maybe this sounds crazy, but I kind of don't care if it's Roblox's fault. I just want these platforms to face some liability finally because of, like, the general abuses of Section 230, like the way that censorship is completely left alone and all of these platforms are able to censor people.
Yeah. They get to do whatever they want in whatever context they want, and they always get the better end of the stick.
They're permissions of publishers, but the lack of liability that platforms are supposed to get.
Yep.
And Roblox would be no exception. It says, the suit seeks to hold the services responsible for defective product design and in the process circumvent Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which shields sites and apps from liability for user-generated content and communications.
And this isn't inherent to Roblox. I mean, this would be true of any platform that has private messaging, right? Mm-hmm. So the same thing could have happened on Instagram private messaging. It's the same thing could have theoretically happened on Facebook private messaging. It's not the website necessarily. It's the...
Well, they are saying that uniquely Roblox is marketed to children.
Yes.
And I was shocked to read this. I don't even know if it's, like, verified and true, but I think there was data that showed over half of children in the U.S. use Roblox. Over half.
Yep.
Like, I had no idea it was even close to that number.
Maybe because we're not part of that age group anymore, so it's like it's not a thing for us.
That's like crazy.
Yeah. Yep. So I wonder if it's just a problem with, like you said, like there's an inherent distance. There's an inherent problem with the fact that there's just no way to stop your kid without intervening. And most parents just aren't that hands-on with their kids anymore. In fact, they use the tablet, they use the phone as a way to parent their kids more than they use it as a way to actually educate their kids.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, it's the evolution of humans is a good parent knows and is paying attention, and a bad one's just going to let their kids get corrupted.
That's a problem. I mean, it's a problem on all fronts. I'm usually the one who's more likely to be like, look, this is the parents' fault for not.
It is in part, yeah.
It absolutely is here, but it's just one of those things where it's like I do feel bad for the parents of previous generations, because as technology evolved as quickly as it did, they're kind of at this disadvantage because they don't. It's kind of like what's happening with public schools right now, right? Like a lot of people didn't realize how bad public schools were until they noticed it. Like now I wouldn't even consider putting my kids into public school if I had kids, but so many parents don't know just how bad so many of them are because of it's happening right under their nose. But that doesn't mean it's an excuse for them to be misinformed or to be uninformed.
I think the second part of this complaint is a Section 230 complaint or something. Are they actually bringing up the 230 thing? This woman?
Yeah.
The 230 thing's interesting because I also kind of agree that I don't think that I think that giving these corporations unfettered ability to ban whoever they want and edit and mute whatever they want is dangerous and shouldn't be the case. When a company gets so big like Roblox, where half the kids are using it in the country or whatever, that the code should be free. At that point, if Roblox isn't policing their own network, other people should have access to that code so that they can start their own Roblox network and fix their terms so that they actually are policing their network. And then parents will go to the other version where they're actually monitoring it properly or the way that they want it to be monitored. But I don't think breaking up the company or forcing the company to not moderate makes any sense.
There's a strong argument against, like, there's a strong freedom versus like personal responsibility argument here that's very, very hard to do because it involves children, which is always where people grow to be more protective. You're more likely to hear people that they're okay with censorship. They're okay with vast sweeping government action if it affects children, because that hits to the heart of who we are as human beings, right? We want to protect kids. So I guess then you have to fall in the line of like, where do we put this on the parents or do we put this on the company? I don't know where I fall 100%. I do know that I hope that eventually maybe this becomes somewhat of a self-correcting problem as more generations that did grow up on the internet have kids and understand the dangers of it. But the technology is going to evolve the same way that just like our parents, like my parents had no idea what the hell the internet was before I was born. There's going to be advances in technology that even people who were raised during the internet age may not understand as they age out of the technology spurt, as the growth.
Yeah. So like I've seen headlines recently announcing Roblox's pivot into metaverse stuff, blockchain stuff. Apparently kids are already being victimized in a giant pyramid scheme on Roblox.
Yeah, so much with that.
Now it's going to venture into the metaverse and like all of these different cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
Like that pivot is something millennial parents are probably not going to understand. I don't even understand it properly. So how are we supposed to deal with that?
Here's a scary one. Ivory Hecker did a story the other day where she was talking about how what's happening is like young men and women, like kids are being like catfished online so well nowadays, where they'll be hit up by some person, either in chat or in a messaging service, and they'll convince that person to send them nudes or explicit photos, and then they will use that to extort children.
Yeah,
that's insane. The world we live in now,
I see this going already.
Like when you think about like what you as a person might be capable of, and then you remember that there's just people out there that do stuff like that, that should scare the crap out of anyone.
There's a really insidious aspect to this that I can't leave unsaid. We see so much scaremongering in the media about video game culture.
Yeah.
How the biggest, like the most pervasive problems in video game culture are like toxic masculinity, cyberbullying, buzzword, blah, 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 blah. But it's actually real problems like this that fall
on deaf ears.
Yeah. Completely ignored, and then we have these like directionless lawsuits that have no hope of causing any real change or awareness.
And get government grants that give them millions of dollars to study a bunch of dudes online who talk smack.
We saw the Department of Homeland Security dedicate $700,000 to researching radicalization in video game culture, like on Steam. But then this stuff is going on. This is left unchecked. I just wanted to point that out.
Because it involved kids, because they actually are evil.
You have to protect kids from making offensive jokes on Xbox Live, not getting extorted for sexual images of themselves.
Yeah, that's a form of
the internet by adults.
If that happens to a kid, they get extorted, they get a nude taken, then they realize that for years they're indebted to this guy, this creep. Then when they're older, they're going to remember that, and you're at a risk of that kid doing that to some other kid now.
Just growing up genuinely scarred, because and they're not, and there's so much shame in that they're not going to want to tell their parents about it. And even if, imagine that happens and you tell your parents, imagine being the father or the mother of a kid who comes to you with that. That's literally a problem that you, who are supposed to be the person that they can come to fix anything when they're young, you can't do anything about that. There's nothing that can be done. The hopelessness that would fall upon the family, not just the child, but on a father who feels helpless now that he can't help his son or his daughter get out of this problem. That's just all of this stuff getting no attention whatsoever because, memes.
Because the real problem in video games is that Frostgrin gets special flame for her takes on Red Dead Redemption. Yeah. Like, we're so far from anything like actually relevant or like helping actually marginalized or helpless people. I just can't. I don't have patience for it anymore. I'm done.
I think that one thing that's come with this job is like, as much fun as we have having these discussions, there's like for every 3 to 5 topics we cover a day, we try to cover something that seems not necessarily serious, but that seems culturally relevant beyond just Hollywood. Maybe it involves celebrities, but there's cultural relevance to it that's deeper than just movies. Look at these people. They're acting so dumb. There's 50 stories that we don't cover because it's not really in our purview. It's not in our wheelhouse. And the more you read this stuff every day and you see what they choose to focus on and what gets no attention, it really does kind of weigh on you. And I think that's true of anyone that's as aware of the world as we try to be.
It's kind of ahead of our time. It's an early time to have the conversation about Roblox and metaverse slavery, but it'll be within 10 to 20 years, it'll be like mainstream conversation and concern. But that's a long time of just feeling alone in it and surrounded by, like you're saying, like helpless or like fed up. I don't know the word you use, is like out of patience because there's other people. Like, where's the outcry?
Where's the outrage?
It's coming in 10 years, but where is it? Like, I need it now.
The outrage is that Frosk thinks people in the live chat want to sex her.
Yes. How dare they?
What?
How dare they?
Or that a video game character's skin tone isn't right. So you need more skin for the different color skins. And you're like, I get it.
And meanwhile, Hollywood's
like problem.
And meanwhile, Hollywood's like, they're mad because we're making the characters gay and different genders and this and that. And we're over here like, there's other stuff going on that's like actually important.
Like, look at David Russell calling Lily Tomlin a C word.
Yeah.
Don't look at this thing about his niece.
Yeah.
Look at like sexism in gaming. Don't look at children being like child laborers on Roblox.
That's actually something that I've become more acutely aware to, is like anytime a story gets a very large push, look to what they're not talking about. Because
were you inundated? Because you're young. You're like, what are you? You're in your early 20s right now.
I'm 22.
So you were like raised on the internet, or you had access to it throughout your youth?
Yeah, not like totally unsupervised or
She
unlimited.
was 9 on the internet, and there was people
like
saying,
I was 9 on the internet. I was on like these virtual worlds.
Yep.
How did you navigate it?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it just like made me into kind of a cyberbully myself. Like it depends on the kid and like the temperament of a kid how they handle the antagonism that's on the internet, and I guess I just kind of absorbed it. That wasn't good for me.
The same thing happens like in skating. Like in the skating community, there was several mainstream websites that you like when you would release content to, and the comment sections were just like you expected it to be awful, and that kind of hardened you against the criticism, which is why skating criticism has never bothered me. You posted stuff to Roller News. You're going to get the worst type of person giving you the worst critique of everything that you've ever done, and you kind of learn to not be so harmed by what they're saying, because you get hardened to the fact that people are speaking awfully to you. I think growing up on the internet now, the kids today, do you think that will make kids more cynical?
I think they're already like cynical, and they feel unsafe in the world because the internet just reflects the worst things in the world, the worst corners of the world.
There's this guy who does these he does these quick Instagram videos. They're like promotions. He runs like a carpentry business, and it's like nihilistic carpentry, where he talks about how none of it matters.
Yeah, you mentioned this.
And he's like, yeah. And then I was thinking about how none of it matters and burn it all down, because capitalism, we're all slaves and addicts to capitalism. And he talks about, he's like, it doesn't matter because of the climate crisis. And he's like, by the way, buy my products. And like that's his pitch to everyone, and it works. Like people like hear it. All the people who are looking at CNN that has their,
'cause it's not effing with you.
No.
It's like, I'm miserable, you're miserable.
Buy my product and be miserable with me.
Yeah.
Like that's the future we're headed to.
I hate it and love it at the same time.
I just hate it. Like I'm looking for like everything that I love is some type of like I live for normie humor. And like all the people that I've taken to really following on social media are like families of normies that are just living the most regular existence you've ever seen. They're like talking about, oh, my parenting skills and this and that, because I love the not political aspect to it. They're not obsessed with the climate crisis. They're not obsessed with inflation. However important we might find those things, they're just joyously living their lives, doing whatever they're doing. And I'm a sucker for that type of content now. It's like, it's almost like social media escapism. Does that make sense?
Kinda, but I mean, the negativity thing's not like natural. I mean, maybe part of life is obviously naturally negative, but like scaring people into buying your product is not like cool.
I think like this one guy has his like one pitch that he does, and it works for this guy. Most companies wouldn't be able to do that. This is a single dude.
Well, I mean, the drug industries do.
Yeah.
Like companies are good at being like, hey, are you okay? If you buy this product, you will be. And it's a great sales tactic, because people that feel helpless are like, they seek consumerism to feel better.
Yep.
It's a terrible, unethical way to sell products, in my opinion.
Do super chats.
Let's go. Tacti Platty said, Mary reminds me of Emma Frost's character with that hat on. Also, check DMs for a vid meme I'd like to post for meme review with your permission.
Oh.
I'll check that later. Thank you. Porco Rosso Forever said, speaking of being mean, I vote we retired the Hannah Claire Strongjaw nickname. She didn't like it, and it sounds very masculine.
I thought it sounded very Native American, is what it sounded like to me. Like,
I mean, you can retire it. I was never using it in the first place.
I don't go downstairs.
This was
and say,
your thing.
I've never gone down to the newsroom and said, "Hey, Strongjaw,
yeah,
what are you doing?"
This was Chat's thing. You guys can retire it if you please.
You got to put the accent on jaw, so it's Strong Jaw.
Strongjaw.
That's not really a name. That's just a description. But Strongjaw is the name.
Yes.
It's like a.
Mm-hmm. Bobcat said, "Cool hat, Mary."
It is
Thank
cool.
you. Matt said, I'm glad to see Mary usurped control of Timcast.
Also, excellent use of usurped.
Yes,
Fantastic.
Yes. High Voltage 75 said, that's not a hat. She stuck her head in a cotton candy machine.
Or maybe you've got like a big brain under there and you're hiding like a
Megamind.
A Megamind, yeah.
Sketch Therapy said, Graphene Man comic. When, Ian? Would you talk to Eric July Young Ripa? Before you become a graphene billionaire, you may need to become a Graphene Man millionaire.
You should, that would
Thoughts
be cool
on that?
to do a comic.
Sounds great. I like Eric.
Graphene powered superhero.
I'll talk to him about it next time I see him.
He was here like a year ago.
Yeah, something like
a little bit before I got out here. I would have liked to have met him.
He's great.
We'll
probably
if he
have him
comes
back on the
we're
show.
Definitely gonna talk to him.
I want to hear him call a bunch of celebrities crackheads on here. I love it when he does that. Says people got really mad. They're like, and he's mean to drug addicts. They're like, he says
he's mean to celebrities.
He's like, he calls everyone that. That's his own term for idiot.
I'll give you guys a little insight into what I'm gonna. A piece of art that I was thinking about building, Graphene Man. It wouldn't be a man, it would be a piece of technology that gets picked up and used by people. And then when the person gets killed, the technology, it's like a gun or whatever, falls on the ground. And the next person that gets it, the story continues to follow the technology thing. And whoever has it is kind of like a peripheral character, but it's all about that piece of technology. I think that could be an entire genre of art that like focuses on a thing and the people are kind of the supporting cast.
Whoops.
That was weird.
How long have you put a lot of thought into that one?
A little bit. I actually came up with it with Philip Fury Wainwright and Desmond Meeks, who really deserves the credit for it. Desmond and Philip, I think they were really the generators of those ideas. So it's been about 5 years that I've been thinking about that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Johnny Derp said, I was catfished online, met a young woman who was into me, then some guy comes out and says he's from Dateline and I should take a seat. That is all.
I didn't.
You're just going to tell on yourself like that?
Wow. Was his name Chris? I don't know.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, too bad Wesley isn't today's guest to get the Hogan's Heroes reference I want to make about Mary's hat. LOL. Happy Friday, PCC crew.
They will forever be upset that I only make obscure references and I never get like the mainstream references they make. Like,
and you're like, anyone?
Anyone?
That was great having Wes. He was on yesterday.
Yeah.
I was listening to it after you guys had wrapped. It's great to have a director on with you guys.
Yeah, he's got great insights into a lot of stuff. We also. He reviewed Amsterdam with us, and he's got invaluable insights to a lot of stuff. He knows a lot more about obscure film, and I'm more about obscure television. So together we form our own Megamind. We just don't have a big hat to wear.
Yeah, I mean, but he's into mainstream film and television too.
Yep,
he likes everything. Louis P. said, I've read the code and it sucks. Parents should not allow their kids to have an internet connection.
Seems to be going that way. Like, I mean, like better safe than sorry early on.
Would you, if you didn't have a connection, would you just have sought one out outside of your environment?
No, I mean, I probably would have been none the wiser. I grew up around so many kids who were exactly like that, who had no access to the internet, and I thought they were the weird ones, but I was the weird one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Sketch Therapy said, are you getting in shape for the Graphene Man movie, Ian?
Oh, I guess it's happening.
Oh, man. Like, you got to
start your training now.
Dude, we're making it. Well, there's a sweet movie, and I think we talked about it, 624, it's in pre-production. It's been in pre-production for a while, but we could definitely integrate some graphene into that.
Alex O said, just wanted to tell Ian I love him.
Thanks, Alex.
Also, I need to do my own research into graphene because I know nothing about graphene.
What do you want to know?
It's latticed carbon. Is that right?
It is, yeah.
Okay,
got
it.
I know it in the context of like you and the show. I don't know anything about it actually.
2029, it's going to be mainstream. Peak graphene.
It's going to replace nuclear energy.
2029 will be peak graphene.
That was the projection in 2019. Is that by
right.
2029 we'd have peak graphene. I'm trying to accelerate the process, but maybe it's just a natural
step
guys. Towards 2029 being the moment when the world switches over to graphene from steel.
From steel? Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Cool.
YU Came said, hey, the Timcast pitch email seems completely broken. Is there another way to pitch ideas?
We would have to get like an official line on this, but
it's not just broken though. It is shut down.
For legal reasons, we can't accept pitches because of there's legal reasons regarding copyright and what would the term for it be?
Intellectual
property rights and stuff like that. They can't just. It's why like directors can't just get pitches from people and then because then if they end up making a movie like that, that person can come back later and lay claim to it. There's a lot of legal reasons behind that stuff.
I guess the only way to get out of that is send an email of your resume to jobs@timcast so that your intellectual property can actually be used here if that's what you want. Waffles Sensei said, the trick to navigating the internet and chat rooms is to respect everyone and also not respect anyone at the same time, if that makes sense. Harder to understand the concept when you're a kid.
I would have to have somebody explain that one better to me. Am I the kid here? I don't understand what that means.
I don't either.
Waffles, you'd have to.
Maybe you can elaborate a little bit.
Respect them enough not to insult them, but don't take their insults seriously. Don't respect
Don't revere them, but don't insult them either.
So don't insult them, but don't put any weight behind their words if they say rude stuff. That's hard.
Don't take it personally.
That's not necessarily easy. So, all right, guys, we are going to move on, and we are going to. This original article was a piece of confirmation that we got from Amazon Studios, in which the studio boss Jennifer Sulky, I think it's Sulk, admits to censoring Lord of the Rings of Power reviews over points of view that they didn't support. But I want to more or less pivot away from this article in which she tacitly confirms what we already knew to be true, which is that if you're a gazillion-dollar company and you've just put $1 billion into this project, you want as much good press as possible. And I want to make it more about the fact that this show has become literally so awful that I can almost sympathize with the need to censor when you make a product this bad. That's a joke. I'm kidding.
At the beginning, though, it was such an overreaction because the first 2 episode premiere was not bad.
Yes.
But they overreacted and preempted the hate to the point where they were like Streisand affecting it.
Yes.
And like the Amazon had to completely restructure their system of ratings and reviews just to protect the reputation of this show, and then in doing so actually made it look worse.
Which is odd. It's funny because they didn't learn their lesson. The same thing happened in 2019 when Rotten Tomatoes restructured their entire rating systems to protect the awful Captain Marvel. Okay, it's not awful. The incredibly forgettable and pointless Captain Marvel movie, which everyone was gaslit into seeing and being told that you have to see this, otherwise seeing Avengers Endgame won't make any sense to you. Spoiler alert, that wasn't true. And the funny thing about this was, at that time, the Rotten Tomatoes CEO was a former executive from Disney, if I remember correctly. And they restructured their entire rating system so that you had to be, they introduced what were called verified ratings, so people couldn't leave a rating without being a reviewer on the site, which means you had to set up an account for it and everything.
Does that mean you have to go under your legal name as well?
I don't believe you had to go under your legal name, but you had to probably fill that out in the paper. Like you probably had to put legal first name, second name, but you could still have a screen name. So they went the same route here, but the problem is that was its own Streisand effect, in which a lot of people are like, this is insane.
Well,
it's just a movie.
Captain Marvel is bad if you're trying this hard to silence criticism of it.
And lo and behold, here we are 3 years later. Nobody's learned any lessons. We are into episode 7 of the Rings of Power, and we see the aftermath of the eruption of Mount Doom into the Southlands, and there is this entire bit at the beginning that is supposed to be played for deep emotional resonance. There's just one problem. You don't give a crap about any of the characters in this show. Therefore, all of the attempted emotional resonance means nothing because you don't care if anything happens to these people.
This may include spoilers of episode 7
if
any of you care.
They do not
the slightest bit.
So
I mean, watching those arguments between Durin and his father, where he's like raging about how Elrond is a brother to him, like, I genuinely couldn't give less of an F about their bond.
The most important through line you can understand here is that there's still several characters I don't know the names to. There's still, every time they try to play these scenes for deeply and emotional, it falls flat. There's one scene between I'll call her Galadriel. It's crap-ladriel, but Galadriel. And Theo, that should have happened
at the beginning.
5 episodes ago.
You mean at the beginning of the episode when? Okay, so to explain to you guys, she gets up from the ashes after Mount Doom explodes everywhere, and she starts wandering around, finds Theo calling out for his mother Bronwyn. He can't find her, and she goes up to him and just asks, "Are you hurt?" And she has this look on her face that she hasn't been able to muster before for some reason.
That's not even what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the one where they're crouched, hiding. And he's blaming himself. He's blaming himself for everything that happened. And she goes into detail about how she lost her husband and the war was so long ago. This would have been a fantastic bit of character development that might have helped me give a crap about her if you had actually done it in the first or the second episode.
Now, are Lord of the Rings fans who know the lore about Galadriel supposed to already be aware that she lost a husband?
Then that's a problem. Even if that's true, that's a problem anyways, because then you're making a show for normies while presenting evidence or information that's only knowledgeable to people that know about the source material. You're literally setting yourself up to fail.
Once again, like trying to have it always and then having nothing.
There's also another through line here is that all women are virtuous, strong-willed, courageous, and ready to fight, and all men are absolute boners that have not an ounce of self-respect, an ounce of courage, an ounce of anything other than fear, reservation. It's
Halbrand
awful.
Was out for the count. I don't even know.
He was out for the count. The Harfoots, all of the women Harfoots have to convince the men Harfoots to go into battle. They have to. Sadrock Burrow's wife has to convince him, and even he's like that. Disa, who has to do the same thing with her husband. Every woman character has to convince a bunch of pathetic, ineffectual beta males to act, and it's annoying.
Is this like some kind of morality play reflecting modern society and how like the female producers of this show really feel about men today?
The funny thing is, this could have been done deftly and with a certain amount of nuance if the man was ready to go into battle but had his reservations. But they don't do that. They don't want to because they're scared. And then the woman has to be like, well, you need to stand up for this and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's bull.
Yeah, they should do it with one character. The dwarf guy, probably. And then, you get the point made that there are men like that without having to destroy the concept of male masculinity.
All of the characters, exactly. Disa actually gave fairly evil vibes when she's talking about how her and her husband are going to become the rulers one day. I got evil vibes from her there.
Were we supposed to?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't know why we should be on their side, but then Muriel and Galadriel are allied out of nowhere against Muriel's father's wishes. And like there's just something weird about like fathers in this show. I really don't understand it. Like Durin going against his father's wishes, Muriel going against her father's wishes, Galadriel going against the elves' patriarchal system's wishes for her. Which is why she left Valinor.
Yeah. Also, if you want to see an acting clinic put on by the only one who seems to know what the hell he's doing, the actor who plays Elendil pulls more emotion out of his scene losing his son than any other actor has managed to do.
So glad we lost Isildur, though.
Yes, so glad. Yeah, thank God Isildur's gone. But that guy pulled more emotion in that scene, and then later when Muriel, who is now blinded, is calling out for him, his facial expressions there are better than anything Galadriel has managed to do in 7 episodes.
He's pretty good.
He's good. I also want to point out here that the other scene that I found particularly offensive, Theo goes into the tent and he thinks his mother is dead. He thinks Bronwyn is dead, and he's looking at this bloody tarp. And then we have what I can only describe as a director who said, imagine that you have a heartfelt, emotional reunion, but on a Middle-earth version of Xanax. there is not an ounce of actual emotion in this scene.
When Bronwyn comes back.
Yes, she comes back. She's like Theo and his mom's alive and she tries. He kind of tries, but there is zero emotional.
It's like it was done in
resonance.
one take and no thought of retaking it.
And then to make it worse,
she's just not believable as his mother or as a mother in general.
I thought she did well in the first episode. That has since faded.
Galadriel seemed more motherly to Theo than Bronwyn did.
Yes, in their scenes together, she seemed to have better acting chemistry with this kid than Bronwyn did. And then we have it was almost more offensive when the Harfoots were doing when Nori and Poppy are like, we're going to warn him because it's the right thing to do, and of course the men are all like, we can't do that, we'll die. It's awful. It's just awful, guys. I gave this I'm not the person who crapped on the show from the beginning. I'm not crapping on the diversity. I'm crapping on the show because it's awful.
I didn't notice the theme of men being incompetent as much as you did, but I'll grant, like, I was paying less attention than you were, and you were admittedly like not paying that much attention because the plot is just degraded so much. All I saw was people arguing, people looking into the distance, with like faces that were void of emotion, and more metaphorical, waxing poetic language.
Okay, I'm also going to read you a line from the end of the episode. Whoever wrote this line should be fired and banished from Hollywood forever. I'm kidding, kind of.
I mean, maybe.
When we're in the aftermath now of the fallen Southlands, and Eddar is walking around, right? And it's brisk, it's red, and he goes, it's no longer called the Southlands. And then I kid you not, Waldrig says, what should we call it instead, Lord Father? It's literally a teed up line as if something from like a sitcom so that he can call it Mordor.
Yeah. It's
awful. It's so bad.
And then in the most, like, if you didn't get it the first time,
they put Mordor on screen.
They had they had the Southlands on screen, like the word the Southlands.
So bad.
And then had that burn out and then get replaced with the word Mordor on screen. In case you, dumbass, didn't realize it the first time.
That could have been a 1 to 3 episode arc of the transition of the Southlands into Mordor. It's one of the most... It is a character in the show and should have been treated with that respect, in my opinion.
Also, there was a line at the beginning when Isildur dies, and I kid you not, this is what I mean when I'm talking about, like, there's not an ounce of believability. This woman who looks like a high school guidance counselor says she goes, he's gone, soldier. It's the word. I immediately had to I had to rewatch it because as soon as I heard that, I got so angry that it was that bad that I had to like walk away and come back. This lady, she looks like a high school guidance counselor. All the women look like high school guidance counselors now. And that's the problem, right? They didn't get imposing women that actually fit these roles, right? Galadriel, maybe a little bit.
She has a little, like a sternness.
She's got a stern. The rest of them all look like they pulled them from like office meetings and said, would you like to be in this show? So there's
they are random.
There's no sense of actual gravity to any of the scenes because it all feels like worse than dinner theater. It's disturbingly bad for the budget.
And all of these sentiments about Rings of Power and like approaching its season finale, how far the plot has degraded and how badly they've misused their budget.
And just how little they've actually done.
Like, that makes the censorship of the negative reviews all the more egregious.
Yes.
And I want to especially like call attention to the fact that they put a 72-hour delay on all user reviews posted to Prime Video. 72 hours is long enough for you to not feel any emotions anymore about what you just saw. And also just to forget that you watched it entirely.
The point is that you should review things right after you watch it. Professional reviewers watch it a couple of times, take notes, and collect their thoughts. that's not what you go to the customer reviews for. You go to the customer reviews to get people's impressions of something immediately after they watched it.
Is it that they leave a review and then 72 hours later it goes live, or you have to wait 72 hours after the show goes up before you can review it in real time?
72 hours after the show is up.
Okay, not just that, but when you really think about it, like the amount, like the number they kept touting was 25 million views in the first 24 hours. It's because then there's no narrative to counter it. Like, yes, it made this many reviews, and then it got this many awful reviews because they can hold off on letting people see those awful reviews until later.
Yeah, so one YouTuber analyzed this situation. Ryan Kinnell is his name.
Yeah, from RK Outpost.
He said, right now, I think they're showing something like 44 reviews, which is still laughable. It's laughable because these are going all the way back to September 2nd, September 5th. There are thousands and thousands of reviews out there for this thing, but they're so carefully controlling and manipulating this to try and manage the backlash and do damage control. It's so effing disingenuous. Like, there's no logical reason that there would only be 44 reviews.
It's really funny that they'll put this much money and time into this, but not the money and time into just making a good show.
Yeah.
like,
all of this thought and energy is wasted.
Because they couldn't just make the show that people wanted.
I also want to address one part of this article that I think is a little bit presumptuous. There's some like bad math from another YouTuber that analyzed the situation. He said at one point the video titled "The Earth Needs More Elf Fans." Well, okay, he was talking about like one of the trailers for Rings of Power, and in his video titled "The Earth Needs More Elf Fans," he said that the trailer had 60,000 views and 506 comments. And then when it got up to 309,000 views, it had less comments. It had 287 at that point. So they were deleting a lot of them.
Yeah.
And then he continued to say, if you do a ratio of views to views and comments to comments, you would have expected 2,567 comments, not 287. But and then he said that means they've deleted 89% of all comments that anyone made. That's not really valid because people are going to comment on it the absolute most when it first comes out, not in the days following it getting posted.
Yeah.
But still, they're obviously doing massive damage control, and there's more thought and energy being put into
curating
the PR
the material,
damage control than actually making something people like. That
All
you wouldn't have to do this.
People are getting paid to delete comments.
Yeah.
That's where their budget is. They're pushing budget.
Or they just have like keywords that they won't allow you to write in there.
Be really funny to see like a spreadsheet of like where all the money goes, and it's like to the censorship bureau. Like it's like all their money's going there. So all this because they couldn't make a show with memorable characters, with dialogue that actually fit and didn't sound over the top. And sets that didn't look ridiculously cheap when it wasn't CGI, garbage.
So everything we're saying, it's not going to get expressed in their reviews, in the customer reviews, because they're making you wait until you forgot about
everything
watching
about it. Yeah, and that's funny thing is that happens too. Like there was stuff that I ended up going back last night and we reviewed the movie Amsterdam today for timcast.com. I had to go home and write down my initial thoughts. Otherwise, I wouldn't have remembered half of that stuff. Like when I went back and re-looked at it today, the first 3 things I wrote down, I obviously remembered because those were the ones I felt strongly enough about to write down first. But the other observations that I had made in my head would have been long gone in my brain by just the next morning, let alone 70
just your feelings about it, whether they're positive or negative. You completely forgotten about them. It's even proven that if you're angry about something, if you wait 10 minutes, it'll be gone.
Yep. I actually take that approach to almost everything. Like a lot of people could save themselves a lot of arguments on the internet if they just waited 10 minutes to post that meme or that infographic or that article headline that they don't actually read, but just read the article headline. If you just waited 10 minutes, that anger, that indignancy that you're feeling will often dissipate a little bit and give you room for a more even keeled thought process, and that might tell you to still post about it, but then it's something you care about very deeply. But if not, then it's probably not something you needed to mention.
That's the outward defense for the 72-hour hold on reviews.
Yeah.
But because it's 72 hours instead of 10 minutes.
Yes.
I mean, I would maybe understand if you have a hold for the hour after the show goes up,
so that they can't review before it comes out.
Before it comes out, before you've watched it in full.
Yeah.
That maybe I would understand.
I wonder if they can do that by time zone.
Maybe.
Like, that'd be interesting to find out. Like, they have to hold it.
But they're not
time.
interested in making sure people give it a fair shake. They're interested in controlling the narrative.
Yep.
That's it. Let's go to Super Chats.
Do it.
Mine's not loading up.
I think we just had the one here at the bottom. It says the trick to net. Oh no, mine's not loading either. I think either we got them all or that's all of them. Is that all of them, guys? That's all of them.
Let's go to Podluck
all right,
then.
Let's go to Podluck. All right, you guys are quiet today. That's all right. So it says Chris Pratt slammed.
Slammed.
We say that again.
Slammed.
It's funnier with the hat. Do it again.
Slammed.
Chris Pratt is slammed for zero effort voice in Mario trailer. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I loved it. He sounds nothing like Mario. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for Jack Black. I'm ready. It sounds nothing like classic Mario. I don't care.
I don't understand why he hyped it up that he put so much work into this voice when it was just him the whole time. Was it a troll?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Dude, Chris Pratt's the greatest actor on earth right now.
This is sort of like Shia LaBeouf. Not even attempting an Italian accent.
Yeah,
in the Padre Pio film.
Yeah, he's like, I can't. But even that kind of makes sense. Like,
he has
that's
some kind of artistic defense for it.
It's a serious film. It's a serious tone. He doesn't want to degrade the material by doing an accent that will call away from the source material. I don't think you have that same argument when you're talking about the Mario movie.
I'm surprised they didn't get an Italian guy to do the Italian accent well. Like, nothing. One of the worst things a movie can do is have a bad actor, bad accent. Like, I feel like if you have a fake accent, even Kevin Spacey in House of Cards, for instance, is an example I go to. He talked like this.
It's funny,
and he had
I love
some
that
fake
accent.
ass Southern accent that wasn't real. You could tell it was a fake accent. So I kept forgetting I was supposed to be in this reality, world, and I kept remembering that he's faking an accent, and it was like terrible. Just completely ruined the show for me.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe it's just because I didn't know a lot of people from the South, but that didn't take me out of that show.
And he always talk like this. People don't talk like this when they talk to you. Brett, what if I always talk like this?
You should do it.
What if I talked in a Russian accent this entire episode?
I'm very happy about Mario. Like, if I always had that lilt going down, Spacey was doing that in House of Cards. So kudos to Pratt for just giving it who he is. Like, I'd rather hear someone be real than a bad accent.
I would bet that the people...
But they only hired Chris Pratt instead of someone who can do the accent for real because of his star power.
And Tom Holland does a great American accent. I didn't even know he was British at first.
I didn't either.
Well,
but in the French and the Brazilian versions, the dubs of Mario, they've chosen voice actors that do an Italian accent.
Okay.
So clearly they opted for it.
Outside of America. It's because in America, Chris Pratt, name value has started to take place of, like, a lot of voice actors are being displaced for actors with actual profiles, like Beyonce performing in The Lion King. Does Beyonce really need to be in The Lion King? No, not really. No.
They said it's an instant example of Hollywood's cynicism and laziness, with every single animated film now throwing cash at a shopping list of starry names.
I wonder if they would have said the same if they had gotten Idris Elba to do it, like they got Idris Elba to do Knuckles in Sonic 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think this is lazy. If you're gonna have Shaggy be a black dude and Velma be Asian, you can have Mario be an American guy.
Yep. Yeah. Well, with a name like Mario.
Well, I just want to know if they asked the original voice actors for Mario in the games if they were willing to take this job,
Yeah.
they would have said yes,
I don't
right?
But I don't think they would have done it. They need
No?
that. They want the name value.
No, they wouldn't have asked.
No, they wouldn't
But
have asked.
if they did ask, I think those voice actors would be perfectly happy to do it.
Also, the question is, how much of this is like people actually caring, and how much of this is just because Twitter freaking hates Chris Pratt, like with a burning.
But
endless
everyone was
passion.
excited to hear his
No, they
Italian
were not.
accent.
Twitter was not excited about that. Twitter. We're looking at Twitter responses here. Twitter hates Chris Pratt.
Some
Because he's
people on
vaguely.
Twitter hate him, but I see positive tweets.
So it says Chris Pratt as Mario is a prime example of why you should hire voice actors for voice acting roles, because what the hell is this?
If he had done the Italian accent, do you think that they would have sent him hate for being an Italiophobe?
Yeah, they would have told him that he
Spreading
was
damaging stereotypes about Italian Americans.
Think about that. Like, what would they have done? Like, hire a bunch of the people from The Sopranos? Like, that's is that the alternative answer? And I think that you're underplaying how much Twitter hates Chris Pratt. I do. I think you're underplaying just how much Twitter despises him.
A certain faction on there, but I haven't seen that bad.
The all of Twitter just hates Chris Pratt because he's vaguely religious, and he wore a what do you call it? Don't step on Sneck shirt.
He's such a good actor, though.
Yes, he is.
Like what was it, Parks and Rec?
Yep.
That stuff was incredible.
Yep. So
He's so good.
I mean, this movie's got
He's awesome.
Keegan-Michael Key, Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. And then Jack Black plays Bowser. It's gonna be freaking.
It looks like a cute movie. I want to watch it.
Yes, she was like she
love
doesn't
the
like the
penguin.
accent. I just think the movie looks very, very like fun. Right?
That would have been cool if they got the original voice actor.
Yeah.
But if you don't get that,
Yeah.
like I don't know, Mario's an American guy anyway. He's an Italian American.
Yeah.
Immigrant.
Is he
he
Italian
supposed-
American or Italian?
He's assimilated.
He's
to-
American. They live in New York, I think.
He's actually also Japanese.
Yes.
Then they
so
eat psychedelic mushrooms and go
ultimate
underground into this
diversity.
alternate reality.
Yep. So we'll have to wait and see when this one comes out. I think I'm going to judge it on like the sliding scale of like how does it rate compared to like original Mario versus Sonic, which I consider to be the
standard.
somewhat of the standard of
Okay.
Of that type.
Oh,
of
actually, Mario and Luigi are Mushroom Kingdonian. They were born in the Mushroom Kingdom, not in the United States.
So they're
I didn't
not
know that.
Italian. You just
They're
happen
not
to have
Italian.
you just happen to have an Italian name.
They were
Okay.
delivered by the stork to their parents at the end of Yoshi's New Island.
Perfect. All right. And then I want to talk about a quick rumor really quick. Too bad Dane's not here because this is a rumor. It's not a fact. It's not reported as fact. It's just something that I found very interesting, which is that it's a rumor that Warner Brothers and DC want to pit Ben Affleck's Batman against Deathstroke. I would love to see this happen. This was what the original pitch was before Ben Affleck was replaced by Matt Reeves' version of Batman with Robert Pattinson. Originally, it was going to be Ben Affleck directing, Ben Affleck writing, Ben Affleck starring in a Batman movie that was pitched on two fronts. One, it was going to be like an Escape from Arkham type movie where he has to battle through different levels of Arkham villains as he tries to get out of Arkham in one night. And the other one was Batman versus Deathstroke. And there was a great leaked video years ago of cell phone footage taken of Deathstroke, of Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke doing his camera test, where he just looks so good as that character. Joe Manganiello, he's tall, he's imposing, he's got all the right looks for that character, and also importantly, he grew up, he loves comic books, he's a big supporter of that industry, he's shown pictures of himself, he's got closets full of long boxes of comics, so he supported that and wanted to play that character, and all he really got out of it was his cameo in the original crap version of Justice League. Well, they're both kind of crap, but the second one, the Snyder Cut's a little bit better. But he got his cameo in the original one in the post-credit scene where he joins the yacht to find out about the Justice League from Lex Luthor, and then he has a more pronounced role, slightly more so in the Snyder Cut of Justice League. And there was really a missed opportunity to have him play that character, but since Ben Affleck is since somewhat reconciled and will be showing up again in Aquaman The Lost Kingdom, they're saying that they're trying to see if they can get Ben Affleck back. I don't know if that's really plausible, given that Affleck has talked about how grueling it is to get in shape to play that character, and that as you get older, it's a hell of a lot harder to stay in that shape, which is evidenced by when you watch different scenes in those movies, you can see where the reshoots are because his weight kind of fluctuates a little bit because it's a lot harder to stay in shape as they get there. But they say the original plan, as set up in the Snyderverse, was Deathstroke to seek an uncompromising and life-wrecking vengeance on the Caped Crusader. In case you missed it, Slade Wilson blamed the Bat for the death of his son. I don't know if they're talking about Grant Wilson or if they're talking about Joe Wilson, that version of the character Jericho, which has his vocal cord severed and can't talk. And they did that storyline with S.I. Morales on Teen Titans, the show, and that's actually another really, really good portrayal of the character of Deathstroke. But it would be cool to do that, but I don't think you can get Ben Affleck back to do a full movie again, especially because he's not going to trust anyone else to make it now with all of the struggles they're having with production, right? Like, he's not going to want to fall in line with somebody else as a director again, but I don't know if he can really handle. He's proven that, or he's shown that he's struggled with, he's got a history of alcoholism. I don't know how he's doing now. He's freshly married. Maybe he just wants to go home and spend time with J-Lo. Right?
Yeah, he's going to be spending some real time, some real quality
time with J-Lo. And they seem to be going all in on the Flash because they don't care. They're going all in on Ezra Miller, apparently. But it's just a thought that it would be very cool to see them do this. I don't know. They say early in development. That sounds like somebody said this once in a room and that got reported as a rumor of some importance. But it's a cool thing to think about, and I would like to see that happen.
To be honest, I never heard of Deathstroke.
Yeah.
Deathstroke. There are a lot of different villains I hadn't heard of.
Out of all of them, that would have made he's one of the villains that it would have made way more sense to do way earlier because he's not street level. He's got. I believe in one of the comic runs, he's got an injection similar to Captain America. But, he's portrayed as just a world-class assassin. And funnily enough, was originally called Deathstroke the Terminator before the Terminator movie ever came out.
Yeah, 1980 was his first appearance. I have a problem with the name, anything with the name Stroke, because it makes me think of like a dude stroking one. Like it's really.
Yeah, it's not a great choice.
Well, it's because he uses a sword.
So he strokes with his sword.
Well,
or like somebody stroking their cat, Like, I don't know. I don't like the name. It's
you better be careful.
I don't like it either. I don't like it either.
And the funny thing is, I've actually liked all of the live action depictions of this character. It's like usually you get like one good depiction of a character live action, but the Manu Bennett version on Arrow was better than it had any right to be, given that it was a CW show.
He looks
Who the hell has heard of Captain Cold?
I have not.
I have.
Who is he?
He works.
I don't know.
No?
They're in the Legion of Doom.
Yep. Yeah,
I don't even know what the Legion.
Those are
Flash.
Those are Flash. They're more. They're part of the
Ocean
Flash's.
Master. Never heard of him.
Captain Cold is part of like the Flash's Rogues Gallery.
Rogues Gallery, like his enemies.
He's got his own list. Yeah, he's portrayed by Wentworth Miller in the Flash, and then in Legends of Tomorrow, Wentworth Miller from Prison Break.
Deathstroke looks like what's his name? Ryan Reynolds' character.
He does. They've done lots of videos where they pit Deadpool and Deathstroke against each other. And funny fact, Deadpool's name is Wade Wilson. Deathstroke's name is Slade Wilson.
They got to do it.
Seems like stealing.
Yeah, they got to do a Deathpool Deathstroke.
There's a great
where
YouTube
they get like molecularly bound, and they're like, "What's wrong with us?"
They do a great YouTube video where they try to put them against each other based on, like, comic nerds pit them against each other based on their strengths. I think if I remember that correctly, Deadpool wins just because of his healing factor.
Did they just rip Deathstroke off and make Deadpool?
I don't know which one came. I don't know.
Deathstroke came first.
Okay,
Deadpool was like 1990 or something.
Yeah, because Rob Liefeld created Deadpool, and that would have been the 90s. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not the comic book aficionado. I know what the things I know, but like I would love to see them do this because I think that given that they're 2 for 2 with live action depictions of this character, it would be cool to see them go 3 for 3 and actually make I don't consider that the version that they have Like, I don't consider the Joe Manganiello one that we've gotten a full attempt at that character yet because he was only in a couple of scenes from 2 things. So the Manu Bennett version is good. The S.I. Morales version is good. It would be cool to see an actor as good as Joe Manganiello really get a shot in a movie that gives him full screen time as a villain, where it's not just about Batman. You see it a lot more from Deathstroke's perspective.
I'm just tired of him resurrecting irrelevant characters that not even comic book enthusiasts are
comic book characters love Deathstroke.
I feel like...
But there are a lot of, like, these obscure characters, like Morbius being an obvious example. They just keep on resurrecting characters that people forgot even existed.
Well, I mean, would you rather that, or would you rather they just go back to the same well over and over again, right? Like,
I'd rather they just stop altogether.
altogether.
They need new villains. DC
That's
is
just
like,
me,
I feel like DC is notoriously weak villains.
No.
Like Marvel has way better villains.
No, I mean, the
Really?
chat will. The
mutants particularly are nasty.
I would say Batman with Batman's Rogues Gallery is considered one of the best.
But
pools of
Scarecrow,
villains.
he's so cheap.
Just Scarecrow.
He scares people. Like, that's his superpower. Is he sprays them with the gas and scares them. Like, Magneto can bend space, like warp space time with his metal manipulation, and like.
Thank you.
I mean, Thanos is like this. I mean, the cosmic
Yeah,
gods
but they
are
have
kind of cheap.
Darkseid. Darkseid and Thanos are considered.
Darkseid, who's that?
Darkseid.
Is that DC?
DC's for
Yeah, DC's like just a
Darkseid's
weak.
cool.
They have the Joker's okay. He's like a psychopath. He's a kind of a cool character.
There's some great descriptions of how, like, if you watch. I never read the comic version, but I did watch the animated version of a comic that was called Judas Contract with Tara, and I believe they did other versions of it with Artemis. And you see just how slimy Deathstroke can be in that, where he like manipulates a girl who's presumably underage, but it's never explicitly said, with like, we can be together as long as you help me take out the Teen Titans. Like, he's a good villain.
Do you think that DC has better villains than Marvel?
Pound for pound, yeah, I do.
Wow.
But that's just me.
Well, I don't know enough about it.
Yeah,
I don't know the universe as well as I know the Marvel universe.
So,
what about you, Mary? Are you familiar with both?
Not tremendously,
Yeah.
no.
So-
I mean, I don't enjoy superhero movies at all.
We're gonna go see Black Adam, and it's so funny too because Wesley's like, it looks horrible, and like if Wesley thinks it looks bad and he's vocal about it, like it's like he's like, some of the lines like were really bad, and when he pointed out to me like how bad the lines were, maybe it's because you get hypnotized by the CGI, but like when I hear the lines, when I hear the lines again outside of the and maybe it's because Pierce Brosnan delivers this line, he's like, you can be this hero's savior or you can end it. Like, having him say that line, I'm sure it physically hurt
the world's savior,
like,
or you can end the world. Is what
I'm sure it hurt Pierce Brosnan in his heart to deliver a line that cheesy.
Yeah, but when
Being
there's
an
a
actor
blah
yeah.
in the background and there's also explosions being shown to you, then you're
Then
like,
it's fine.
wow. Like, what am I expected to
Yeah.
think about that? I can't sit there and act like that's engaging.
Yeah. So it's I'm more excited about that because it's gonna be funny to see if The Rock can actually
Even the
Did you know
Wakanda Forever
yeah
trailer. I'm so checked out
yeah.
of it.
Also, I want to point out that it's really funny that they're talking about how like they're predicting 70 to 80 million for Black Adam's opening, and they're saying that that's The Rock's biggest will be The Rock's biggest opening of all
Really?
time. The dude who's the highest paid actor in all of Hollywood for like many years running, that's the best he can do for opening weekend. I guess that proves that like what we said, that maybe the more important thing is that your movie has longer legs. Like that's how Jungle Cruise ended up making like a crap ton of money. Or no, I'm sorry, Jumanji. The sequel to Jumanji ended up making a ton of money, not because it had a great opening weekend, but it was like that and Bad Boys Forever were just in the theaters forever, like right before COVID, and just had very low drop-offs week to week. So, but it is interesting that he's never done better than that. And even Tom Cruise just had his first $100 million opening.
But that's also because of inflation.
And then Robert Downey.
Right? I would like to see that adjusted for 90s movies.
Robert Downey Jr. is like, hi, I only open to 100 or better when I'm in a Marvel movie. Like so we'll see. And then to finish things off, we have to mention Velma. Guys, if you go, in fact, you know what? Let's just do this on the fly. If
you have Google Chrome?
You could just do it from Google.
Cringe?
Yes. If you go to Google and you search, let me go to Google here, guys.
Just Velma.
Yeah, just you don't have to search anything else as far as I know. If you search Velma, it rains pride flags down, different types of pride flags down.
Lesbian pride and also the newest iteration of the gay pride flag, which has all the colors you can possibly imagine.
In celebration of the fact that Velma is gay, because they're forgetting the fact that nobody actually cares. Like, I do feel like this is one where they're reaching.
It's all a package deal.
Yes.
Isn't it?
I feel like this is one where they're reaching. Like, they want, like, they think that people are going to be really upset about this. They want the Little Mermaid thing all over again.
Yeah.
But people are like...
It's so sick that they elicit responses like that.
People are like, we thought Velma was gay all along. This is like the Babylon Bee. It says, woke Hollywood turns another beloved children's character gay. Oh, wait, it's Velma? Sure, whatever. Go for it.
Yeah, like the only reason that Scooby-Doo movies are still coming out is because of adults watching it for nostalgia purposes.
It's Tumblr people watching it.
Yeah.
Or Tumblr weirdos who want to ship the characters in something.
And make fan fiction and stuff like that.
And make their creepy, deviant art fan fiction that you don't ever want to subject yourself to.
I hate Easter eggs in films, and... now, like, I can't even forgive it from big tech. Like, that's even worse.
Yeah. Yep. And Google's done this before for others. I mean, they do this on a lot of holidays as well.
Yeah, it's obnoxious.
So how do you feel, Ian? Thoughts?
I was a big fan of Scooby-Doo growing up. I used to watch it as a kid in the 80s, and, you know, it was iconic. But I rewatched a little bit of it last night, the old cartoon, and there's some things you got to maintain are Scooby and Shaggy are stoners. They constantly have munchies. They eat the Scooby snacks, which makes Scooby like crazy, so they're probably drug and laced in some way.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo's
I would imagine.
snacks
And Shaggy eats them too, like they get crazy. Fred's like a grounding male force.
Okay.
And then the girls are awesome. They're brilliant. Well, yeah, they're both brilliant. One's beautiful, one's socially awkward. And that's like the dynamic of the group, and they're all friends.
Yeah.
I love it. But so I hope they don't twist that too much.
Here's the thing, though. This is what's going to happen. They're going to make her... Oh, sorry, take that, you incels. It's canon. They love to use the term canon against people. People that don't give a crap about these characters but are politically motivated are like, oh, take that, you incels. It's canon now. Velma's gay. Nobody actually cares. Not really. People care about stuff they grew up with being perverted by changing it for political reasons. Not perverted, but changed for the sake of agenda, right?
And I think that's clearly what they're doing.
All the comments that I watch, like one of my favorite ways of gauging public perception on something is to go to like an infographic that talks about something like this and just read the comments on different types of sites. And a lot of times, even if you're looking at a site that's like Just Jared or some of these other ones that are very, very left-leaning Hollywood outlets or whatever. Hello.
It's so weird how they do that sometimes.
Like if even on one of those sites, the comments are like, nobody cares about this. Nobody cares. Like Bros is universally panned no matter what site you're on. Like every comment, not panned isn't like this is bad because they're gay. They're saying like, I just didn't know this was coming out. Blaming the fans is stupid. Most of the comments that I'm seeing about that are like, this is not a theater release movie. This is a streaming movie. 110%.
It was overly ambitious.
Yes, exactly.
And they paid the price for that.
And what they want is they want you to have the same indignation for this that you had for The Little Mermaid.
I mean, there are obviously more people invested in Ariel than in Velma.
Yes. Like
just generationally.
Well, also because Ariel's the lead of that story. Velma's just another
Disney
character.
princesses are evergreen characters that can be reiterated over and over again.
Which should scare us because that means that they're going to be abused politically as social messages for as long as media can be transmitted to the eyeballs we have. It's
hopefully not much longer in the grand scheme of things.
So I think the best thing we can do. Also, remember there was also manufactured backlash when Mindy Kaling took over the role. Because Mindy Kaling is insufferable on social media, like all of these people.
Take that, you
incels. It is what it is. My favorite is also you're now required, if you're a previous actor, to be trotted out like a show pony whenever something like this happens to talk about how you're okay with it. Like no matter what happens, like they could eventually turn Velma into a serial killer. And they will have to trot out whatever previous version of Velma there was, and she'll be like, It's very inclusive that she's a serial killer in this. It's fantastic.
I think they do that even when it doesn't have to do with diversity. Like they're asking Margot Robbie what she thinks of Lady Gaga taking over the role of Harley Quinn, and it's like, are you trying to get her to say something vindictive, or what's the goal here?
Fun fact, there's only one right answer, and it's 110% support across the board.
Yeah.
That's like it's like when he was
or else it's going to be Margot Robbie slams Lady Gaga.
They're like, where are my all caps? Are my all caps letters going to be slams, or are my all caps letters going to be throws her support behind? Mm-hmm. The same thing. The funny thing was, like, one of the reviewers was talking about the reaction to Bros, and he's like, the critics loved it. He goes, as if the critics had any choice whatsoever to give any type of review other than glowing praise, given the culture we live in now, where you're not allowed to criticize certain groups based on immutable characteristics. So, all right, let's go super chats.
Caper2X said, Brett, sorry for being mean. Graphene forever, Ian.
See, thank you. That's very nice of you to apologize. Your apology is accepted here.
Walker Texas Danger said, should have hired Justin Roiland to do Mario.
Who's another big Irish or Italian actor these days? I can't I corrected myself. I think I made that same mistake another day. It would have been cool if James Gandolfini was still alive to play him. Get a mob boss, Mario. Get who's the guy who has that great podcast? He used to be in the mob and he's not in the mob anymore.
Yeah, sure. Michael something.
Michael
Mancini.
I
don't know.
It's
his
like
name.
He
does a lot of podcasts.
He's great.
He's been on Lex Friedman have him on. I think.
Michael Francis. He's this great. He's got his voice. He talks like he's an old Italian mafioso, and he's like he does like it's one of my favorite segments for like during COVID. He had a thing called Mob Movie Monday where he would review mob movies like from the perspective of a dude who used to be in the mob.
That's funny.
Freaking awesome, man.
Yeah, he was part of the Colombo crime family, son of the former underboss Sonny Francis.
And he took the government for a bunch of money, so tax hero. Like they got a bunch of it was like a gas scam that they got away with. Like
watch out, Brad. The IRS is gonna come for you.
We're so gonna. Like I wanted to put like a Hollywood Hall of Fame behind me of just like Wesley Snipes, Shakira, and all celebrities who have gotten in trouble for tax evasion.
Is that what it was?
All
he
of them do
served
it.
time for tax evasion and then came out.
I'm not sure if it was for tax evasion, but I think they got him on RICO charges or something like that. So that guy's great.
Joseph said, I want a Kevin C., Nicky Cage, and Keanu Reeves flick.
Kevin Costner? Nick Cage and Keanu Reeves?
I don't know why you would put an eggplant emoji there, what that implies.
I don't know what that implies either, but Keanu Reeves, a Keanu Reeves and Nicolas Cage movie would almost be like too much. Like if you put Brendan Fraser in there with them, you might actually blow up the screen.
Destroy the internet.
Destroy the internet.
C.P. Scott said, this is my second time watching from the start. I appreciate your show. Mary, how do you get the Pomeranian to stay on your head? Brett, your face is not only for radio. Hi, Ian. See you on that other show.
We've heard of that other show. That other show's pretty good.
Forget what it's called.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah, it's something about dogs and
it's Cast
Tim
something.
Cast IRL. I think you're talking about, and I'll be on tonight at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Potatoes for Seamus said Ian and the harem of strokes.
See, now you guys are all making it seem bad. I never thought of it that way
Bring
until
your best stroke jokes. And I'm a big fan of the Strokes. Great band. One of my favorite bands,
It's not
actually.
a great name.
That's very hypocritical. You're okay with a band named The Strokes, but not a character named Deathstroke.
Yeah, where do you
I
think
never
they
said I
got
was
that
okay with
name,
that.
The Strokes? A bunch of dudes sitting around, bored.
Bobby said, happy Friday, y'all. We need a compilation of Ian saying stroke.
Well,
Bobby also said for a rowing workout, of course.
Of course. That's the purpose.
Bobcat
Strong
said,
upper arms.
Deadpool is the second best Canadian in popular culture. Changed my mind.
Who would be the best then?
I think he's referring to Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson? Okay.
Maybe just seeing who we would guess. I don't know.
Not Justin Bieber?
I like Justin Bieber, though.
I have no problem with... He seems very inoffensive. Like, I like that he went through his, like, really, really awful phase where he peed in mop buckets and stuff like that. Like, I'm here for that. Like that's very...
Spit on his fans.
That's very... Yeah, like, I'm here for it. Like, I've got no problem with the dude who just makes, like, R&B music and loves God, right? Like, he's pretty religious.
Matt said Scarecrow is permanent bad trip should terrify Ian.
Yeah, the idea that the Scarecrow can alter your mind state.
It's not him. It's his little chemical that he makes. That if you take his chemicals away, he's just a guy with a mask.
I'm gonna have to come up with a list of my favorite DC villains tonight. I'm horrible at coming up with that stuff off the top of my head, but a good place to go if you wanted to see a show that focused more on the villains was Gotham. The show Gotham, the one from the dude who did The Mentalist, Bruno Heller, the one that's starred Benjamin McKenzie as James Gordon. Really, really good, like highly underrated show. A very, very like stereotypical first season, and then they realized that they couldn't be that. And then they kind of lean into the ridiculous in seasons 2 through 5 or 2 through 4. Very, very good.
Like Lex Luthor's really boring. His superpower is he doesn't have any. He's just a smart guy.
But like, I kind of prefer DC being a little more grounded in reality than the MCU. MCU is just like off the rails. I cannot keep up.
You also love the cosmic
except
stuff.
Superman.
It is.
But Superman's the most insane character. Like he's just this guy. His superpowers, he can do anything. Yep. He's invulnerable.
And the problem,
but he has one weakness. It's like so cliche.
Well, no,
I mean, it was the first superhero.
It's cliche because it's the first,
right.
yeah.
But it's also true that that's not like if you're talking about Kryptonite, sure, but that's not really how they get to him. They get to him through Lois, and they get to him through his family. That's like his real weakness
is his mind.
His real weakness is his connection to the mortal world, to humans.
Lindsay said, "Happy Friday, y'all. As a Southerner, yes, bad Southern accents make some things hard to watch."
Thank you, Lindsay.
Amen.
And I sorry. No, it doesn't bother me. Maybe it's because I don't have the Southern accent. But I mean, I've heard bad ones, right? But like, I guess maybe it's just in this context, I was so enthralled by that character in House of Cards that the accent didn't bother me because I found it less about the accent and more about the menacing tone.
I'll agree. I really disliked the show already because I felt like it was political propaganda getting us ready to accept some sort of strongman president. I was like, oh, this is bad show. I don't like this.
The funny thing was, I remember, like, because I was fairly politically uninitiated when that show first came out, right? I mean, I wasn't, but I was, right? Like, I knew that the media was not to be trusted, but I didn't really care about politics. But I remember one of the first signs that things were off was like when I started learning about all the stuff that happened with Obama that they never talked about, and then they did this article where they're like about the last season of House of Cards. It's like it just doesn't work as well when you're so scared in the era of Trump. Like it was just so clearly like pro-neoliberal globalist propaganda to write an article.
It was weird. It was like made this corrupt president the hero. It was a very weird mind, like a psyop on the American people. I thought it was very.
Well,
strange.
also, I mean, I think that show is done in a way that's not supposed to portray anyone. It's a show about people with agendas. It's not a show about good and evil. It's a show about a culture of evil propagated by people who occupy it in different forms with different methods of going about perpetrating their own form of it.
Nathan Settlemeyer said Snipes as Deathstroke is race swap I can get behind.
Wesley Snipes as Deathstroke would be freaking hilarious. Let's go.
Caper2X said Mary next week wear a Russian tank cloth helmet. Very manga a la Girls und Panzer? And you look like one of the characters there. Adios PCC peeps.
And then you can sing 99 Red Balloons when you're done.
I'm trying to normalize giant fur hats without the context of the Soviet Union. Am I allowed to do that?
Yeah, you're succeeding.
Okay, great. Rascal King said...
You're going to have to be Tanner if you want to do that. Sorry.
Okay. Rascal King said, Ian repeatedly saying stroke makes the Rascal King nauseous. ... Walker Texas Danger said, grateful that Google is going to such great lengths to make sure everyone knows how much they care who Velma would hypothetically want to bang if she existed.
It is.
We really appreciate that.
Would it be cool if we just put a moratorium on Hollywood for like 5 years where they're just, we sacrifice, I mean, we talk a lot about how Hollywood is sexless now. Like like the male characters are sexless. Like what if we just put a moratorium on any relationships whatsoever?
Hey, I love that.
No straight, no gay, and any talk of anything like that. So they can't exploit it and make it about that stuff, right? You just have to write your character, and your character has to live and die on how well it interacts in this world, not who that character might hypothetically want to have sex with. If people want to fanfic about it, they can do that. But as a writer, as a creator, you don't acknowledge it for the good of your own production.
Sexual tension, like relationship drama.
It just
that's obviously never going to happen, so it's not even worth pontificating about.
I think it's worth pontificating about. No, I'm alone in this. Fine.
No.
Fine.
I got mixed feelings. I don't know. I'm open to the conversation.
I just feel
I don't think you need it to make a good movie, but it does. It is interesting to watch it.
I'm saying as an exercise to help writers get back into the form of writing about, making it about writing the characters, not about falling back on the trope of like, let's market this by who this character might or might not sleep with. Because it's rarely in the productions.
Yeah, it's the marketing
anyways.
That's the problem, not the productions themselves a lot of the time.
So just fire all these HR departments and marketing departments and hire...
social media managers.
Yes, get rid of them.
Just, yeah.
Out the door.
Lane said, missed the show, but will listen tomorrow. Kind of concerned about the stroke conversation. Have a great weekend, guys. We're being
was
sussy.
Concerning me too. Yeah.
We are getting dangerously close to a third crisis party.
Dangerously.
No, like $1 close to.
I guess we got it then, right?
Is that it?
Alex Sandwich Mateo said Goku would spank Superman. Superman never trains.
Oh well, Superman doesn't have to train. That's the annoying part about it, right? He doesn't have to train.
Goku is in a meritocratic. Yeah, he's the everyman's superhero, I guess. Waffle Sensei said, "Okay, but that's what makes Lex Luthor such a good villain because Superman is basically a god, and Luthor is driven to show that mankind is stronger."
As you were talking about Goku being the everyman superhero, it made me think of a good superpower. It'd be the guy has the powers of God or like Superman or whatever, but only if people want him to.
Yeah.
So he's constantly ethically trying to make people, however, want him to be a superhero.
Yeah.
And just being nice to people isn't necessarily the way. That's the interesting.
That's
psychological
an
trauma.
interesting like dynamic to kind of explore, right? Like it's not common in Western.
Because you could like create a false flag and people are like, we need a hero. We need you to be super.
Yep.
That'd be interesting.
1,000-Foot Deep End said the southern accents in The Devil All the Time were terrible and so stereotypical. Most of the cast was British or Canadian.
Also, this is a good time to point out that the accent that Christian Bale does in Amsterdam is absolutely fantastic. I don't actually know what it's supposed to evoke.
It's not a stereotypical like transatlantic accent either.
It's not his voice in Batman or any other time he's done an American accent. It sounds like it's supposed to be evoking 1930s.
He's from upstate New York in the movie.
It's so good, and it's just like you forget that Christian Bale is from Wales. He's not from the US. So he's like one of my biggest complaints about how like we talk about how British actors can do American accents better because they grew up with American media. So they can spit it back to you, but they always do kind of a generic. Tom Holland doesn't do regionally specific American accents. He does his American accent. Hugh Laurie has done his American accent. Marsha Thomason does her American accent. But when Christian Bale does it, he does this now different than his other versions of American accents. That's talent, man.
Matt said, "Let them know who wears the beanie in this castle."
That's apparently you, comrade.
Well, this isn't a beanie. It's a helmet.
Is it a helmet beanie?
I don't know what's better. Potatoes for Seamus simply said stroke.
And that's how we end the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Why they get so obsessed with it?
With that, Ian, would you like to let everyone know where they can find you?
Absolutely, Brett. You can find me at Ian Crossland on the internet anywhere, any social media network, more or less. There are a few that I'm not on, but for the most part, at Ian Crossland. And you're going to find me tonight Timcast IRL on YouTube, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll see you there.
And since we're on a clock here for the third crisis party, we're going to go very slow until the third crisis party.
Okay. I mean, I have a couple things to say anyway.
Oh, go for it.
You can find me on Instagram or on Twitter. What? What?
No, it's fantastic.
You've been looking at me this whole time. You can find me on Instagram or on Twitter at Mary Archived. I recently took my Twitter off of private mode, so you can follow me there, I guess. It's a little bit more incriminating than Instagram. And I encourage you to, over the weekend, look for our members-only review of Amsterdam with Wesley. We had fun doing that. It was a fun movie, and I encourage you to watch it. Big recommend. And also, I want to refer you again to our link in the description for Jeremy's Razors competition. We want to earn points, and I'm not even going to name our biggest competitor because he just doesn't deserve the attention. Just use our link, get 35% off of a Daily Wire Plus subscription or $12 off of Jeremy's Razors Founders Kit.
Yes.
I wanted to say one more thing. If you like the show, stroke that like button, stroke the bell button, and subscribe.
Thank you so much for that.
Stroke the subscription button. I can't say that evenly.
Yeah.
There's some
Gently
super chats there.
Gently tap or gently stroke the like button.
Finger tip or knuckle.
Perhaps I will do that. Maybe that's what I'll change it to. I changed it to gently tap the like button because Tim says smash the like button. Mainly
Smoothly stroke
yes,
the like button. It's
going to evolve into gently stroke.
I don't like where this is going.
I don't think I can actually type that with a straight face. There's some super chats there. Let's read them.
Waffle Sensei said, that is all. Bobby said stroke. And Tacty Platty said, don't forget, check DMs, Mary. Reminder, LOL. Yes, I will. Sorry, I'm not very good about checking DMs. I get overwhelmed because there are so many of them, but I will look.
What she's like, I'm so popular. It's just so difficult being me.
Yeah, it's just so hard being like the most fashionable Stalinist in the world right now.
There it is. So
Thank
fantastic.
you.
Thank you, guys. Now I'm going to try and do this outro as all of this happens. So, guys, if you would like to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasvik. For the show, we are here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. It is so much fun to be here and have this show with you guys every day. It is the best job in the world, I tell you. If you would like to listen rather than watch, we're on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. Look at it's like flying all over. How's that?
Thank you, guys.
And then on social media, we're on Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at popculturecrisis, and on Instagram at popculturecrisisPod. We will be back with another episode on Monday. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye.
Later.